This is for entertainment purposes only. We are not responsible for what you do with these opinions.
Kirk is not an attorney. This is not legal advice. This is to be considered for educational purposes only.
I'm not picking up your audio, Ted.
You are now in the host queue.
I'm not picking up your audio, Ted. You Blog Talk.
All right, we are live with Kirk Pendergrass, Law for Dummies. Kirk, you are live, my friend.
No sound, Ted.
Are you picking up my... You can hear me now.
There we go.
But
But it's coming
doubled
through
up.
on the other computer.
Okay. How about now? It's okay.
Turn your blog talk mic on.
Okay. You know what? It's okay because I'm picking up all of your audio, so therefore everything that needs to be heard will be heard. If I come on, let me just. If you want to have me on,
Yeah, but I
I'll
can't hear
figure
you. I
this
can't
out.
hear your audio through Blog Talk.
I'll figure that out as we go. So for now, everything's working. Everybody can hear you. I'll keep this one off so there's no echo, and I'll figure it out somehow here. But, see, I'm right here. He just can't hear me through Blog Talk for some reason, and we're doing a mix of audio visual. So, please call in. Kirk's going to get started here. He has some amazing information. Sorry, I'm not shaved up or anything, but I'm going to stay out of his show and let him do his thing. All right.
Kirk's going to get started here. He has some amazing information. Sorry.
You are now off the host queue. You are now in the host queue.
Yeah, I still can't hear your audio. Yeah, I've got your mic on.
That is really strange. I know you guys out there can hear me, but he can't, and I can hear him. He just can't hear me unless I turn on the audio, which will echo like crazy. But it's okay. It's okay. I'm still here. I don't know why. This has always worked every other time.
You got to turn your mic on that's going to Blog Talk Radio so I can pick you up.
It's on. It's on. It's on. Yeah, it's on. There, it's off. Now it's on. Off. On, off, on, off, on, off, on. off on.
You gotta turn your mic on that's going to Blog Talk Radio so I can pick you up. It's not working.
All right. This is going to get really echoey for a second.
Wait a minute.
Okay.
I wonder if I turn my volume down on the laptop.
There you go. Maybe that's it. It's got to be it, because
Nope. Volume's up.
volume's up, huh? It's weird being on this side because I'm looking the opposite way here. I'll just boop, ba-doop, boop, boop, doop, 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 doop.
Okay, now I got you.
Oh, sweet. All right, cool. Well, I'll
I just muted you and then unmuted you, so now it's working. Okay, so I think we got our technical issues worked out here.
we'll get it all straightened out one of these days. The background looks amazing. The flag looks awesome, man. Freaking love it. Oops. So
I am an American patriot.
Yes. I've got us both on your show.
Marine Corps veteran.
Or what veteran?
Marine Corps, Semper Fi.
Oh, you are? I didn't know that.
4th Marine Tanker Division.
That's what my younger brother Ian was in the Marines. He was in Kosovo. What? He was a demolition. The guy who carried the missile launchers or missile launcher. He was really good at that, apparently. But
I was a geek, computer geek.
oh, cool.
Unit diary clerk, the guy that puts all everybody's the whole company's information in the computer. Which we only used DOS 5.0. Actually, I think it was still DOS 3.0. We were upgrading to DOS 5.0.
Oh wow!
In 1990, 91. I originally signed up to go grunt and kill some Iraqis and all that good stuff, buddy system. And my other two buddies I went in with, they didn't even, one made it like 2 weeks and one made it 3 weeks into boot camp. Out of the three of us, I thought I'd be the one that didn't make it through boot camp. But Marine Corps boot camp's not easy to just get through.
6
but,
weeks. Right? It's 6 weeks.
13 and a half weeks.
Okay, that's bad.
13 and a half weeks boot camp, and then you have another 28 days of Marine combat training.
That's right. It's been a long time since Ian was in boot camp. You grab a picture. I have a picture hanging of him over there. But yeah, it certainly brought a lot of patriotism into our household, having him in the armed forces, especially the Marine Corps.
Well, they got my ASVAB score back, and they're like, you have an extremely high mechanical aptitude. And this is part of where it's been documented, my high IQ. It's in the 98th percentile. It's actually been documented twice. I have an extremely high mechanical aptitude, which means I'm a very good problem solver. I'm very good with numbers. I'm very good with breaking things down, figuring out what's wrong with it, and how to fix it, which is the reason why law interests me so much, is because, I mean, like I've said before, I hate reading. I literally hate to read. Even though I can read, 400 words per minute with better than 85% comprehension, I hate to read. But this stuff literally empowers me. And like even last night, I went to bed at like 12:15, and my brain just wouldn't shut off. So I wake up, I grab one of my books. I'm like, all right, let's just start reading. I pick up my Landmark Supreme Court Cases book from 2005 or 2004. And I just start reading stuff, because information, it's empowering. I mean, there's no other reason behind it, but it makes my mind go like crazy.
Yeah.
And
can actually,
you talk about a wealth of knowledge. It all comes from reading, and I have, you have to read this stuff in order to have it.
Right.
And a lot of this stuff, I've committed to memory. And over the last 20 plus years, it's hard to go, yeah, this is where that's at. When I'm just spouting off the top of my head, I know what I've read, and it's in my mind, so I know it's there.
Right.
So when you ask me for it, it may take me a while to go find it, where the hell it was at when I read it, 3, 6, 10, 20 years ago.
Right.
And sometimes I know I'll have an answer, but it'll take me, a few minutes to access that file.
Yeah.
So
I didn't realize I was going to be on camera. I wasn't prepared. I didn't comb my hair or anything, or shave. I kind of like, I like being able to help and be in the background and just make sure that everything's going smooth. And if it did that time, then I probably wouldn't have come on camera. And by the way, I switched our positions because, on the broadcaster, because the other way, if I was to your left, then we'd be looking away from each other. This way, we're kind of looking this way.
I know it's this way.
Yeah. So if we switched places, then we'd have to both be looking away from our monitor.
You get to put my arm around you this time.
Right. I'd have to. So this works out much better. But as soon as you get going, I can hop off or whatever you want to do. I don't mind staying on, and I could just, however you want to run it. I haven't checked the Facebook feed yet, but the Far From Normal crew said that they'd help share this.
Right on.
So
well, we'll start off with acknowledging our sponsors: Brian Kinter, Randy Davis, Neil Shelton, and Cheyenne Davis. Future of Our Children Network on Blog Talk Radio. There's actually a few separate different shows on there. Brian Kinter's show, Jam, Judicial Accountability Movement. That is Jam in your face. Brian has done extensive research and work and fought his way up through the court system. He spent over $6 million fighting to get his kids back. He is, in my opinion, a pioneer in this family law reform stuff because, I've only been in it now for about 2.5 years studying family law, 3 years. And, that's how I met Brian Kinter, was through Randall Stone. And Brian offered me my own radio show, and I'm like, okay. 'Cause, I'm not really kind of an out there kind of guy. I like to stick local, and but this kind of information really needs to get out there, and people keep telling me that I need to help educate people. So, well over a year ago, I started teaching out of my house. So here I am, a little over a year later now. Thanks to you, we're going live on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, 2 places on Facebook, March.us and Kirk's Law Corner. You're streaming it out to YouTube and Twitter.
Yep.
So hopefully we can reach some people. And tonight we're just doing like a regular call-in show. If you got a question, hit it up. Phone number is area code 516-387-1481. It should be on the, it's on the video there, live feed. And I'm also part of a group of people out at American Common Law Academy in Nampa, Idaho. We have Lee Arthur Rice. He's the founder. And then we have Tony Pellegrino. He's kind of like the co-founder. He's actually one of the ones that's really busting his butt, making everything happen. Lee's dealing with his own cases. And then with Josiah, he's kind of an IT guy, and he's learning law. We have a bondsman, Angela Peru. She's got her bondsman license thing going again, and so she does bonds. So kind of have a good little team there. Then we have Fred Kelly Grant, who's been in law for 61 years, and he's trying to teach us some stuff. And
60.
man, he is. You want to talk about a wealth of knowledge on the inside? And he's got his own book that he wrote, Justice My Ass. So, and actually, I'd see here Tony just popped on. I'd like to bring Tony on, see what he has to say, if he wanted to say anything. Tony, are you with us?
Hey, what's happening, Kirk?
What is happening, brother? Good to hear you.
Things are popping. I've been busy. I'm heading to California tomorrow, and then we're heading to Chicago, Fred and I. We're going to meet with Justice Gableman. He's a Supreme Court justice sitting on the bench in Wisconsin, and he is a constitutional justice. And we'll get the chance to spend some time with him, and we're going to talk coordination. So a lot of stuff going on right now. I'm pretty excited.
Awesome. Yeah, you do a little bit of traveling to do some of your law seminars, and you've been doing them for, what, over a year now yourself?
I've been doing it for about 5 years. I've done about probably close to 20 seminars now. So there's an awakening happening that people want to, assert their creator endowed rights, and there's an awakening. That's all I can say. People realize that when you're thinking something's wrong with the system, you're right. Something is wrong, and you gotta assert yourself and stand up for yourself. So, and that's why I appreciate what you guys are doing tonight.
Yeah, law is basically black and white. It's either morally right or morally wrong. It's either evil or that's why I go black and white. White is right and black is wrong. Not to be construed as in skin color or race or anything. We're talking about law in itself. So, if it's wrong and it feels wrong, more than likely it is. And there's always a remedy in the law. You just have to find it. And it's funny, Uncle and I were talking about DNA the other night, and we come to the conclusion is it's a giant code, and we don't understand it. And Chris Hallett and I were kind of exchanging messages the other night, or the last night, I guess. And I mentioned it to him, and that's what it is. It's a giant code supposed to codify the law. And so that's kind of why I actually started Kirk's Law Corner, was actually to post law and to help educate people on what the law is and what it actually says and the history of law, because you have to actually understand history. The history of law, succession of law in this country, again, goes all the way back to the Magna Carta of 1215. That's where our first great charter of liberty comes from. That's where life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, that's where liberty comes from, the Magna Carta of 1215. And I know you, Tony, you've heard me talk about this stuff, and the last law seminar, we kind of touched on it a little bit, but we're doing some good things out at ACLA. We're going to start doing, not start doing, but we have been doing some law seminars, and you've been doing quite a bit more than I have, obviously. But we all have our different points of strength, and I think we work together as a great team. And going to be doing some amazing things out of there very soon.
Yeah, there's wisdom in a multitude of counselors. And everybody has an important piece of the puzzle here in the Liberty Movement, and and helping people in their court situations and lawful situations. It's a beautiful thing to know the law. That's all I can say, is because if you don't, you're just going to get battered. And so that's why we need to study to show ourselves approved.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is it literally empowers you when you actually know what your rights are. When you know what your rights are, you automatically know, and you have a response. You know that when someone's doing something wrong, that, hey, this is wrong. This is what the law says. No, you better stop doing what you're doing right now, or I'm going to place you under arrest. And usually I get well, you can't do that. Want to bet? Anyway, that's another story.
I've actually threatened a couple people to put them under arrest, and they ceased and desisted. So I didn't have to do a citizen's arrest, but it's well within our rights to place someone under arrest.
Yes, it is.
These guys that are blocking the freeways, standing in the middle of the road, that's an arrestable offense. You don't have to wait for the police to come. They're blocking the freeways. Grab those guys and detain them. Put them under arrest, then call law enforcement to take them away, and make sure you fill out a report before you let them go.
That would fall under a breach of the peace.
Oh yeah, well it's 18-241-242. You don't have to be a law enforcement that's a federal crime, blocking and hindering the roadway.
Right. It has to be a felony. So in order to make an arrest without a warrant, it has to be a felony or a breach of the peace. And breach of the peace involves violence. You know, two guys arguing back and forth and disturbing the peace of the bar. That's an arrestable offense, even though it might be a misdemeanor. It's the arrest. What arrest really is to stop what's going on. That's what an arrest is supposed to do. Is supposed to stop what's going on. And that was the first show that we've gone live with here 2 weeks ago. I covered all that stuff and talked about the treaties on arrest and false imprisonment. And even just the slightest bit of deprivation of your right to liberty is wrong. It's a tort. You can file under Title 42, 1983 for civil rights violations. That's automatically like a $10,000 suit. Just for telling you to stop and having no lawful authority to even tell you to stop. That's $10,000 right there. It's a deprivation of your right of liberty. We do have a caller on, last 4, 1305. If you have a question for us, press the 1 key on your keypad to indicate to us you have a question. Area code 435. Last 4 is 1305. Wish I could remember Crystal's phone number. She didn't call in last week. I'm surprised. Maybe she'll call in again tonight. Tony also has his own radio show on Blog Talk on Saturday nights, 7 to 9 p.m. Mountain Time, and that's called God and Country. That's with Randall Stone. Randall Stone and Tony Pellegrino. Good stuff going on over there. And then Tuesday nights with Jay Moss, Bud Vino, and Jesse, I can't remember her last name.
Jesse Weiner.
Jesse Weiner. So she's the three of them. That's the new trio over there on Tuesday nights, and they're also 6 to 8 p.m. Mountain Time, 8 to 10 Eastern Time. I'm in Mountain Time, so that's what I always go with anyway. So, and then there's some other shows there. I can't remember exactly what night's what, but Yaya McLean's got a show on Future of Our Children Network. Randy Davis has his show, and then Brian Kinter has his show, and then Neil Shelton, I believe, has Straight Out of Mayberry, something like that. So those are the shows that we have during the week on Future of Our Children Network. And I really got to put a shout out to Ted Fogg here. He's really the techie guy behind all this audio, video stuff that I really don't have the time to do it, time to learn it. I mean, I'm old school techie stuff. I'm actually kind of a computer geek, but it's been a while, but I don't want to, I just too much on my plate. I need help. So I really appreciate what Ted Fogg does for us. He does it for Jay Moss and Bud Vino's show as well. Far From Normal show. Maybe Tony and Randall maybe hook up with you guys and with you, Ted. I've passed that information on to them, and I'll get them hooked up with you to see if that's something they want to do. It seems to be working pretty good for us, getting the message out there a little bit more than what we were getting just off of Blog Talk itself. So let's go ahead and take this question. 1305. Who are we talking to?
Yes, this is Bear Herbert. How are you today?
Pretty good, Bear. How are you?
Better than I deserve. My question is, I know that this February will be 2 years, which means that I will pass my statute of limitations to be able to bring a suit against the scumbags of Ada County. And what is my recourse at that point? Because they still have me with a public defender, so it's still not doing his job. and I sent them over 900 pages of my last 6 months of medical records, and he could not fulfill Judge Hansen's request to get my case dismissed off of that. And now they waited for my case to be turned over for another judge, because Judge Hansen was retired now. So I have a new judge, and she is not recognizing any of the intent of Judge Hansen. And I have all my paperwork from Judge Hansen freeing me from any legal obligation to Ada County whatsoever. And this judge is not recognizing it, and I know they're trying to stall so I get past that mark to be able to bring a suit against their lily livers.
Well, Tony might be able to answer this or confirm this, but for me, from what I understand, that there is you can do like a notice of intent to sue, and it'll extend you out for 1 year. What I've been kind of putting out there lately is going on the Department of Justice website and actually filing your claim with them, filing a complaint with Department of Justice. Okay. They have a civil rights division, and that's where I sent Crystal. And Crystal went there. She said it took her like 20 minutes to fill it out, half an hour. It's an online complaint form. You fill that out. I think they responded back in like 3 days, is what she said last time, or called her or something. Anyway, basically they came back and said, well, we don't have enough complaints yet to actually start an investigation, but we give you permission to file suit in the federal court. So that automatically allows you to, it's kind of like giving you permission. So when you get permission from the Department of Justice to file suit, you have a pretty good case. So it's kind of like checks and balances to make sure that you actually have a legitimate case. Not only that, we need to be sending in these complaints to the Department of Justice to start getting them built up to where Department of Justice starts saying, look, well, maybe we ought to take a look into this. Maybe we ought to open an investigation into the corruption going on in the judicial branch in this state or that state or whatever state. And once that happens, I mean, that's a big ball that starts rolling. So, Tony, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, what's happening, Bear? I have to say that this is not legal advice, but at any rate, in your situation, if I were you, I would, right before the statute of limitations comes up, you'd file a Title 42, and you got 21 days to amend it. And basically, you'd have lots of assistance of counsel from the American Common Law Academy. We'll provide all the educational resources for you. So what you're going to need is $400 to file that lawsuit, brother. And so that's what you're going to need to do.
Oh, I thought I needed 2,000 to come up with to have that. I'm misunderstanding things, apparently. That's what happens when you have TBI on top of stroke brain on top of stroke brain. You confuse things, I guess.
Yeah, you'll probably have to file, when you send your summonses out to all your primary defendants, you might need $50 per summons, depending on how you're going to summons, if you have a personal or if you hire somebody. But yeah, you might need a few more hundred to do that too, maybe another 300 or 400. I know there's multiple defendants in your lawsuit, so.
I've been trying to gather and round up some help to be able to finish with my paperwork for my lawsuit, but that is to no avail. And my SSI come through now, and thank God that's there, but there's nothing left there after paying my bills and feeding my family. So it's kind of a complicated walk that I'm trying to balance out with all of the other chaos that we all indwell in our own lives. And when you put several TBI insults on top of what's happened to my life in the last 4 years with this stroke, it really makes things convoluted, to say the very least.
Well, hopefully someone can sponsor your filing fee, Bear, and we can assist you as you pursue to try to get substantial justice. I mean, obviously it's a federal lawsuit, so you got a better chance than in these kangaroo state courts. So
they are not even. She's not even recognizing any of the paperwork from Judge Hansen, and Judge Hansen said I had one more court date, and he was going to make me take a barred attorney through the public defender's office, and I said no because they're the ones that just had the class action lawsuit that they filed out of court. But he didn't take that answer as my answer. He made me do that. And this new judge is not viewing or recognizing any of Judge Hansen's intent or anything. And my one phone court that Judge Hansen said that I had has now turned into a plethora of confusion. And I asked the judge when that court date was, when I had the chance to talk to her. I told her from my reading of the Oregon state law for her or any other entity to come and forcibly remove me from my residence for any reason would be considered in the state of Oregon as kidnapping. And I asked her what her intent was. Was she going to send dogs a bounty hunter after me, or was she going to send SWAT team in here to shoot my dog and my children, or what was she doing? And she would not answer my question directly. She just said, Mr. Herbert, let it be clearly stated in your mind that I will exact any means necessary for you to appear in front of me and me to be able to have you answer to my questioning. You will bend to my will. And that was her exact words. No regard for law at all.
Yeah. So we answered that question, and we have another question. So we're going to move on to the next question. Bear, thank you for coming on. I'm sure you're probably just going to hang there and listen a little bit, but we want to get to as many questions through this show as we can. We really want to sit here and talk about your whole entire case. We kind of want to get into specifics on what you're actually looking for, because we'd rather educate. There's plenty of things to educate on here. So when you have a question, let's try and stick to the subject matter of your question and not get off track here, because I know that I can. So I'm doing the best that I can to stay on track. So we have area code 812-6055. Who are we talking with?
Oh, is that Captain Kirk? Is that who that is?
Is that Mr. Robert Slavin? I know that
sir.
voice.
What you doing, buddy? Yeah, how you doing?
You know, putting it out there.
I hear you. You're doing good, man. I keep watching you, so you're getting better at it. You're on TV now and everything, man. You're going with it, ain't you?
I know, right? Well, thanks to Ted. You know, Ted offered to run some audio video on this, and I'm like, yeah, you know. I mean, I've been on Blog Talk Radio for over a year. I took a little bit of a break there for a while to focus on some of my own stuff, getting ready to go to court and stuff, but it's time to get back in the game and get this education part going. We need to get the people educated on what their rights are, where they come from within law, and how to effectively defend those rights. And that goes all the way to the federal court when they violate your rights. Yeah. We start banging this stuff out. You know, they're going to be, you know, we're talking about draining the swamp. That's it. Pull the plug on them. File that Title 42. And that's the only way you're going to get their attention. And the DOJ, get on the DOJ first. Go in there, fill that out. If you have stuff that's going to be that you feel that you want to submit as evidence, it specifically says on the DOJ website that you will need to actually mail in your complaint. So you can actually download, print out this complaint form, fill out your form, attach all your evidence with it, and then send it in. That is the way to get your evidence. You can't do that online and send in evidence. So you have to be careful which way you want to do it. But there is a remedy out there, and I highly recommend that we start with the DOJ, because that's what they're there for.
Absolutely. Well, I'm in the part now. I've been reading a lot of stuff actually, but I wanted you to, last week when I watched your show, I wanted you to touch on, for these people to understand what What I'm saying is these judges are state actors. They're state witnesses for the state, and it's hard to get people to understand that. And what's your best way of explaining that to someone?
Well, here's the reality. They're just human beings. And somebody was asking on an earlier show about the good faith reliance, because I talked about, they always complain, the prosecutor or whatever, they all talk about, we had good faith reliance, Your Honor. We had good faith reliance, Your Honor, so we have immunity. No. And this is out of my book here, this Landmark Supreme Court Cases, okay? It's a pretty darn good book.
Right.
Full of good information here. Let me pull that page up, 471, if I remember right.
They're
right.
hand-picked
here it is.
By the legislature. Right?
Schuer versus Rhodes. Schuer versus Rhodes, 416 U.S. 232. Okay? Key issues. When a state officer acts in a manner that may violate the U.S. Constitution, is that official afforded immunity from suit in federal court? No. The answer is no. And this is a case from 1974 that establishes, no, none of these people have immunity. So here it is. Here's your case right there. You put it up there so you can see that.
I appreciate that. And, the education.
They do not have immunity when they act outside of the Constitution. Okay? And that's the key we need to understand is when you have rights and you claim those rights, the claim and exercise of a right cannot be converted into a crime. That's Miller versus U.S. So when you claim a right and they go ahead and step on your rights and violate your rights, they just lost all immunity immediately. That's what this case says. Okay? So as an officer of the court or officer of the judicial branch or executive branch or the legislature, it doesn't matter who it is. Okay? Most of the time you're dealing with people from the executive branch and then the judicial branch. But, you get CPS, DCF, whatever, that their policy says that they can come into your house and take your kids. That policy is unconstitutional. And see, that's the thing is, ignorance of the law is no excuse. If you're going to put yourself out there as somebody who's in law enforcement on the executive branch side as an agent of this agency, okay, you can't claim ignorance of the law. It would be completely illogical for someone to say, hi, I'm here from law enforcement, but I'm going to claim ignorance of the law and I'm going to violate your rights and I have immunity to do that. No, you don't. Okay?
Right.
So that's the case.
Yeah,
that's the Landmark Supreme Court case. It's used all the time.
That's what I was going to get to next. And people don't understand too that statutes they're not law, and it's boils down to the point where what you're saying, ignorance to the law. If they're making us ignorant to the law, which they're doing, then it's not law. I mean, it's just as simple as that. So I mean, we don't understand it. It's not law, and we don't understand this law that's been passed around that we've been talking about. So. To me, it's just not law. And another thing I really want you to touch on, if you could.
I have case law that specifically says that the code, because it's supposed to codify the law, is not law. And it does not have the full force and effect as law, because it's not law. People need to understand that. Statutory law is not law. And I have Idaho case law. Okay? It is not law. It is supposed to codify or codify the law. And anything, and that's the reason why Article 6, Clause 2 in the Constitution specifically says anything in the Constitution or laws of a state. So even if it's the Constitution of your state that is in violation of the supreme law of the land, it is notwithstanding, which means it's void from its inception. That's Marbury versus Madison, 5 U.S. 137. Okay? It is void from its inception. Not from the day you go to go to court to brand it unconstitutional. You don't have to brand something unconstitutional that's void from its inception.
Right.
You can flat out say, no, your policy is void because it's unconstitutional, and you want to continue to act in the manner that you're acting, we're going to federal court. And I'm going to sue you for everything you got, right down to the pair of underwear you're wearing right now.
Right. see, I'm having a hard time too, Kurt. I've been reading a lot on this maritime law and this admiralty law, and I'm trying to figure out how. I don't see that one. So that I'm unconstitutional, you know, and I'm just not finding anywhere that they're saying they're under admiralty law. But if you challenge it, they won't answer you.
No, they won't. They won't answer you. See, that's part of what happened back in 1845. Is they extended the admiralty jurisdiction on the land, and that's unlawful. That's a congressional act. It's unlawful. Okay, they can't do that.
Right.
That's the reason why that's why we need an Article 5 convention for an audit, not for a con. We need an audit of every single piece of congressional acts that has been made since the inception of, I would go clear back to the Declaration of Independence, in my opinion. Every single congressional act that has been made, and every statutory law, which is that all falls on the congressional acts, executive orders, everything. It needs to be checked and balanced against the Constitution and the supreme law of the land. And it, again, Marbury versus Madison, anything, capital T, that's a proper noun. Okay, if you read the Constitution, thing is actually a separate word, and the T is capitalized. That means that's a proper noun. So anything in the Constitution, and actually when we're talking about Marbury versus Madison, that's anything. Anything that comes in conflict with the supreme law of the land is null and void. It is completely illogical for a secondary law to come in conflict with the supreme law. Okay, that's just common sense. So, and that's what we have. That's what we need to start dealing with here. And you know, the other part is contracts. They get us into these contracts. But see, there again, we go back to contract law, and contract law goes clear back to the 6th century under Roman civil law, 600 AD. Okay, contract law, fraud, any kind of fraud in a contract makes that contract null and void. Okay, again, anything that comes in conflict with the supreme law is null and void from its inception, including contracts. Even though the Constitution says, you know, there shall be no law impairing the obligation of contracts, and I believe that's in Article 1, Section 9, somewhere in there. Anyway, might be 10. But you're still talking about contract law. So the Constitution is a contract. It is a legal binding contract enforceable in any court of law in this land. Okay, so, and it specifically says in Article 3, Clause 2, suits of equity, that's it. Everything else is admiralty and maritime jurisdiction, because Article 1, Section 8 is the delegation of authority to the federal government, and they're supposed to protect us from all things foreign commerce between a foreign country and this country, and between the states, okay, not between people and people. And they can't make a contract that, we're talking about, let's say, marriage, because marriage is a religious act, separation of church and state. State can't convert that right into privilege, license it, and attach a fee to it. That's Murdoch versus Pennsylvania. Can't do it. Sorry. Okay, because that is a fundamental right. It is a God-given right declared in the Declaration of Independence. We also have the Virginia Declaration of Rights. I know there's people out there that disagree with me on this stuff, but I have everything right here on proper authority. You know, stuff like this is called Annals of America. This is every legal document, letter, and everything that's written. This is a 21-volume set. I'm actually missing volume 1, but this one right here is number 2. And this starts in 1755 through 1783. Okay, this book right here has the Declaration of Arms, July 6, 1775 in it. This has the Virginia Declaration of Rights in it. June 11th? Or no, let's see. Yeah, June 11th, 1776. And then we have the Declaration, Virginia's Constitution, which was actually signed at the same time as the Declaration of Independence. So we have the Declaration of Arms, we have the Declaration of Rights, which is a Bill of Rights. then we have the Constitution, and then we have the Declaration of Independence. We have 4 documents that actually are all tied together under the Declaration of Independence. And by the way, declarations are at the same level as the supreme law of the land because it's succession of law. Law as rights. Rights are law. So when we talk about succession of law, we're talking about succession of rights, which is what the Ninth Amendment talks about. Those non-enumerated rights shall not be denied or disparaged at all, because there are rights that are retained by the people. Read the preamble to the Constitution. So that stuff's all out there. You just have to educate yourself and read it.
Yeah, and I've thought about this next time I go back into court. I really thought about just challenging everything with the Constitution and actually turning in my evidence as the Constitution. You know what I mean? The evidence. It's
called judicial notice.
Yeah, it's just
you put the court on judicial notice. You pick up this book, and I can pop this book up and go, here it is, Judge. That's what it says. That's judicial notice. You've been put on judicial notice. You act outside of what I just laid down in front of the court and presented to you as law. You're acting outside of your ministerial duties, your moral duties and ethical obligations under the law that you shall be bound by.
Right.
You don't want to follow that, we're going to federal court. We'll sue you.
I'm just thinking about really doing that, Kurt, because it's just like I'm having a hard time.
We need action.
Yeah,
somebody's going to start doing it. Flood them courts.
Because I can't find them having any jurisdiction. I can't find them having any jurisdiction over me. I mean, because you're going into 3 separate laws. You're going in, you like your contract laws. Okay, so that's what they're playing on you. But then they say they're admiralty law. They're admiralty law court. Well, no, you ain't, because you're unconstitutional, because we don't got a jury. We don't have a speedy trial. You're not. So
right.
You're not maritime law because we're not on the ocean getting a divorce. You know what I'm saying? On a boat, and they're out there hammering away on the ships on us. You know what I mean? So it's
right. Well, let me explain that right there, because this is how they do it. Okay, admiralty jurisdiction. You're talking about on the sea, on the high sea. Okay, when you're talking about a birth certificate, a ship births. Okay, when it comes to port, it births. Okay,
right.
You just popped out a baby ship is what you just popped out. You birthed a ship. And that document, that certificate of live birth, okay, that creates a contract, and it turns you into chattel. Okay, property that you just turned over to the corporation known as the United States. Not the United States of America. We're talking about the corporation, United States. That's it. So, and actually, when you read through some of our documents, it changes between the colonies in the Articles of Confederation and in the Declaration of Independence. Okay, if you read actually the first part of the Declaration of Independence, it's these United 13 colonies. That's the heading of the Declaration of Independence. Same thing with the Articles of Confederation. And then it changes to the Constitution of the United States of America, and now it's the Constitution of the United States. So we actually have different actions of government within government, and it's so confusing. It's so hard to even frickin' explain. But the simplicity of it is there's more than one. And which one are you following?
On that.
Are you a citizen of the United States under the 14th Amendment, or are you a natural person?
Well, it's like a lot of people don't understand it neither. You go down to D.C., and D.C. is actually separate from Washington, but it's right in the middle of it, so it's Washington, D.C. So
yeah, that's supposed to be the 10 miles squared, the seat of government. Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17. 10 miles squared.
Right. So, when we got to looking up there, that's the 2 highest courts in America right there. Now we were asking about jurisdiction, and it got a little hairy up there for a couple people because of the questions we were asking. But, it's to me, on the books that we got and what we're reading and what we're trying to figure out, to me, those are the 2 highest courts in America right there in D.C. But they're not constitutional. It says it right in our book. So I'm trying to figure that out too, man. I got like 14 different projects going on in my head to try to figure out, and it all keeps leading back to the Constitution. It all keeps leading back to the Declaration of Independence. So
it is, and there's more. There's more history of law.
It's where it all leads back to every time. You know,
those 572 years of law prior to the Constitution that's been laid down, ordained, and established as law.
Well, and then what I'm talking about wrote that Constitution, they were smart because they could see the future. They knew what was coming, and I don't know if it was because they were trying to get it done back then too, like they are now. But they knew it was coming, and that makes them very smart people because we ain't got no future tellers like that anymore. We've got people that's
all of the history I've been reading. It's the same people. It's the British Crown. It's the Roman Catholic Church, the Pope.
Yes, the Vatican.
England.
Yes.
Okay, and it's the same frickin' people every time. You know. Back in 1215, they put a muzzle to King John's head. Hey, we're separating from you for religious purposes, and we're declaring liberty clear across the world. Basically, the Great Charter, even though it was for English-speaking people. See, this is where people don't quite understand. Not just English people, but English-speaking people. Because that's what it says. Anyway,
right.
So, you know, it's the same frickin' people we've been fighting every time. You know, in the Declaration of Arms is in 1775. We were taking up arms to go against them, okay? We actually settled over here in 1809. Jamestown, Virginia was the first initial one from the English, from the Crown. People came over here with their big money, and that's how we got started. They were funding America, our America, okay, as with their own money. Their own life, their own securities. And Jamestown, that was the first city and then Virginia is the first colony. And that was 1609. Okay, so that's quite a bit before 1776. But see, in 1776, we declared our independence from the King of England. Okay, again, religious freedom. But yet, the Magna Carta was still the law of the land, because that's what we had. Except in 1775, the Declaration of Arms, and then 1776, we have the Virginia Declaration of Rights, and then we have the Virginia Constitution, which was signed again at the same time as the Declaration of Independence. Those four documents are all tied together. It was for religious separation from the King of England. Okay, that's how this country was established. Religious reasons, religious separations. You got to read those documents and you'll understand what's going on. You read the Magna Carta, you read the Declaration of Arms, you read the Virginia Declaration of Rights, you read the Virginia Constitution, which is a lot of exactly what's in the Declaration of Independence. But we were separating from the tyranny from the king. Okay, so again, and then in the War of 1812, same thing, same frickin' people. The British Crown, the Bar, British Accreditation Registry, frickin' Communist Lawyers Guild, trying to take over our country. They burn our capital, trying to destroy the original 13th Amendment. It was fully ratified. They destroyed those documents, took them out to sea. And then, and I've got on good authority that it was in 1819, I believe, is what he told me. 1819 was ratified again, the original 13th Amendment, which basically told the bar to get the heck out of our country, and anyone who took a title of nobility ceases to be a citizen of the United States. Okay, this is back before they twisted the word United States. So we were trying to kick them out of our country, and they kept fighting us, and they kept fighting us. Okay, and then we go into the Civil War, 1861. Okay, same frickin' people they're fighting against. It wasn't about slavery. Come on, really? Do your history research, folks. Well, Civil War wasn't about slavery. While they created the 14th Amendment there and all that happy stuff. And then all of a sudden now we're bankrupt and we can claim bankruptcy. Okay. And then the Federal Reserve Act in 1933. Okay. I mean, this is all the stuff of how they converted us into slaves. Okay. All these little acts and unconstitutional, unlawful acts. They don't have the authority to make those. The only way you can change the Constitution was through an Article 5 convention, and none of that happened. So that's all in coup. Basically, as far back as 1812 is the start of the coup, the War of 1812. Okay,
right.
That's where if we were to do an audit and go back to 1812 and just a little bit before and find, which has already been found. Okay, I'm in a group with people that have already certified, have found all of the original 13th Amendment was fully ratified. Okay, we have it. It's there. So
right.
That makes everything from the 13th Amendment on void. Marbury versus Madison. Okay?
Absolutely.
Void from its inception. That's the original coup d'etat, and that's why we are where we are today. Because the bar came in here, and in 1812, not only did they burn the capitals, but they killed our representatives in government, instituted themselves into our government. You know, go back to the art of war. Okay? The only way you're going to take this country down is from within. And that's what they did.
Right.
The British Crown implemented the same frickin' despotism that we just declared our independence from in 1776. They instituted themselves back into our government on the inside. And that's why we have statutory law and all these congressional acts. And in 1845, they extended the admiralty jurisdiction onto the land. And so that's technically what we're under. And they rewrote the Constitution statutorily. And so these bar attorneys, again, their obligation is to the court, not to us. And if you understand what an attorney is, now there's a difference between an attorney and a lawyer. A lawyer is a law sayer, okay? Someone who is knowledgeable on the law, who speaks the law. Okay, an attorney is to attorn you. They are to take your stuff and give it to somebody else. That's what an attorney is. So when you're out there talking about a lawyer, you better be talking about somebody like me. If you're talking about an attorney, you're talking about a bar attorney who upholds their own statutes, codes, rules, and regulations to further their compelling interest to take your money, to take your wealth, okay, and put you into debt. They want to attorn you. They want to tear you apart and take everything you got. Don't hire them. Get yourself a paralegal, study law, and get your butt into court and start standing up for yourself.
Right. Absolutely. I agree with you 100%, man. You know I do. We could talk on this show all night long, Kurt.
I know. Let me take this other question.
All right.
7731. Who do we have?
Hi, Kurt. This is your favorite person in the world.
Yay, I'm glad you called in. I missed you last week.
I know. Sorry about that. Sometimes life just kicks you in the butt. And I've been working long hours. So, okay, so question for you really quick. So explain a little bit more in detail the Marbury versus Madison. Because basically, isn't that the separation of the governments, of the courts?
There is some other pieces in there, okay?
Right.
But basically, Marbury versus Madison was Marbury was given paperwork that he was supposed to deliver that would put Madison in charge, and this was from the president, okay? And then the new president came in, and Marbury thought he could just slide these papers away and just disregard serving these paperwork and giving Madison his proper delegation of authority within the government.
Right.
And Madison said, I don't think so. And so Madison took him to court, and he won. So
right, because it has more to do with exculpatory evidence, correct?
Right. Where you know the old I can't remember was it Jefferson? I think it was Jefferson. Okay, did all of this. Maybe it wasn't Jefferson. I'll have to read it. it's a pretty heavy duty case, and it's kind of hard to understand. And you know, I've read it like 5 or 6 times at least. It's been quite a while since I've read it, but yeah, it is the denial of exculpatory evidence, because Madison's like, well, I was told that there's paperwork that was given by the president to you. Where is it? Well, I'm not giving that up. I'm not giving that. Yes, you are. I'm going to compel you to give it up, because that's proof and that's evidence that I'm supposed to be in a certain position within the government, and you're withholding that exculpatory evidence. You are denying it.
Right.
And so then that's what Marbury was using the actual law at the time, statutory law. And then that's when they said, well, under executive orders and the congressional acts, and Madison said, no. This was from the president, the highest of the land. Okay, he's the head executive of the land here. And so basically Marbury said, Madison said, look, anything that comes in conflict with the supreme law of the land is null and void from its inception. Not from the day that you go to court and brand it. You don't have to go to court and brand it as unconstitutional. It would be completely, this is it. It would be completely illogical for a secondary law to come in conflict with the supreme law. That's it. That's common sense. And that's part of Marbury versus Madison. Okay, so that's why Marbury versus Madison is so powerful. It's because it does nullify anything.
Oh, I put the dogs outside. Right. So that's what I was kind of trying to figure out, because a lot of people, if you look at Marbury versus Madison on the internet, it basically talks about this judicial thing. And a lot of people don't understand that it actually has to do with exculpatory evidence that can clear you in withholding evidence that would clear you in any kind of a setting, whether it's criminal or civil, that would clear you.
Right.
And a lot of people don't understand that goes back to, what, 1776? Or what year 1801. Was 1801. Okay, so that goes back to 1801, and a lot of people don't understand that that's a very big case in our history, that a lot of people just, the reason why I asked you to explain it a little bit more in detail when it comes to the evidence issue is a lot of people don't realize that you have a law that both state and federal have to abide by.
Yes, 1803.
But it's a case law. Yeah, so because it's a case law where
I have it in my landmark Supreme Court cases book here.
Right. Because a lot of times the state will argue that you can't use federal law in a state court, but then Howlett versus Rose changed that, where you can use federal law in a state proceeding. And the state a lot of times will try to, and I know a lot of us, most of us have at least a state case, if not a federal case, where, you're trying to do the crossover.
Owens versus City of Independence.
Right. Yeah, Owens versus City, that's the other one. And so, a lot of people don't understand that.
You're talking about a secondary law, and I don't care if it's the Constitution of the state, it's a secondary law. We have one supreme law of the land.
Right.
That's the Constitution.
And then you have the bar.
That's in Owens versus City of Independence. Federal law is actually what's supposed to be laid down. And then, of course, the states do have their independent authority to make their own stuff, but it has to be within the supreme, inside of the delegation of authority under the supreme law of the land. Okay. Cannot come in conflict with the supreme law of the land.
Right. Okay, so the next question I had for you tonight is, when you're talking about emoluments, or like you were talking about how, so define what you think tell me what you think the color of law is. What is your definition of the color of law?
Color of law is a creation of any kind of statute, rule, regulation, code, policy that is in the form of law. It may have even gone through proper process to become statutory law, but it is in conflict with any superior through hierarchy. So if you have like an executive agency, who's been delegated the authority by the legislative branch in creating that agency and allowing that agency to create their own policies. Now, see, when you do that, those policies are actually only supposed to apply to the agents of the agency. They are not allowed to act outside of, first, the delegated authority from the legislative branch under the legislative intent of creation. Okay? That's when they start acting under color of law, is what appears to be law and lawful, but it's not. There's no actual proper delegation of authority to act that way. And that's where I go to black and white. It's either white as in right or black as in wrong, evil.
Wrong, right.
Morally.
Right. So what would an attorney have? Would that be the color of law or would that be the color of authority? What would an attorney have to be able to argue in a courtroom?
It's color of law. If they so color of authority would be the agent himself saying, well, my policy says, and this is where we go back to, I believe it's the one I just read from. It's on page, anyway. Actually, it's right here. That's smart. Anyway, that's a Supreme Court case as well as, an agent, an officer of an agency, can't claim ignorance of the law. You don't have any immunity. You can't violate the law. You're going to put yourself out there as, oh, I'm an agent from this agency and I'm in law enforcement. You can't claim ignorance of the law.
Right.
So and another way I'd
what would an attorney fall under?
Well, they're there to attorney you, remember.
Right.
They're there to take something from you and give it to somebody else.
Right.
That's what an attorney does.
So that would be the color of law, correct? Or color of authority?
That could be color of law, and that goes into what Chris Hallett's case is about, the monopolies.
Right.
And the bar itself is not actually being controlled by the states.
Right.
The corporate charter, you're supposed to seek permission from the corporate charter to conduct business, act in commerce within the state. Okay, you have to seek permission. So that's what a license is, seeking permission to do a thing that would otherwise be illegal. Okay?
Right.
So the Bar Association doesn't actually seek permission to have their corporate business under the corporate charter. They're not licensed by the state of Idaho to actually be a corporation. Okay? Well, actually, no, they aren't. They're a private corporation acting outside of the state corporate charter, which is under color of law.
Right.
The state of Idaho can't create the Bar Association. They can't allow that to operate in the state because that's not within the bylaws. Okay, and if you understand, like corporations, each corporation has a set of bylaws. So what are the bylaws of each state? It's called the Constitution. That's the bylaws.
Right.
The corporate charter's bylaws. And then you go into the statutory law for each agency, which is the legislative branch. But even in Idaho Code, it specifically says, Title 72, 201, the people of the state of Idaho do not yield their sovereignty to the agency so created. Okay, because we can't delegate an authority that we don't possess ourselves first.
Okay. So I'm still just a little confused. So what gives them the right to practice law in a courtroom? Is that the color of law or color of authority?
No, that's color of law. Because what they've done is they've granted themselves power, and everybody's all, okay, that's the thing. You're talking, it's infected all three branches of government. Again, we're under admiralty jurisdiction, the law of the sea. They can just do whatever they want, they think.
Right.
And so they created their bar association. They've created their own bylaws. And the judges and the attorneys, they're all attorneys. I don't know of one judge that wasn't an attorney first.
Right.
So they're all part of the same club. It's a cult. I'm going to call it what it is. It's a cult.
Right.
Okay, so
I agree.
That's under color of law. It's not pure. It's not white.
Right. Okay.
If it has any kind of color to it, it's not white.
Right. Yep. Because it's either black or white, and if it's not pure, then it's colored or tainted.
And yep, it's got some color to it. It's not law.
Right. Okay. That makes a little bit more sense. Okay. Well, it's good to talk to you this week. I will try and be more of a regular follower. I apologize.
Hey, you know what? You got to do what you got to do over there. I'm glad to hear from you, and I'm glad things are going good. Any news on your suit that you can share?
Still in recess.
Still in recess
since the 12th. I mean, and we're talking recess, not anything else. That's what they declared it. So it's been in recess.
Well, you know, Halloween's coming. All those cookies and candies are sitting out there, so take a break.
Right.
So again, can you share with our listeners again about the process that you went through on the Department of Justice website, just real quick?
Okay. Well, it depends on which one you're talking about. If you want to file a complaint against CPS. CPS by far is the easiest one to get a complaint online. To do a complaint online, there's actually an online form on the DOJ. If you go to the DOJ's website, go to their complaint form. You can fill it out online. It literally took me probably 7 days after I filed it to get a letter from them. Once you get a letter from the DOJ telling you whatever, even if it's from the mail clerk, that gives you the authority to go after an agency. Very simple and easy to do. I wish I haven't done it for a little while. It's been a couple months since I did it. But in order to proceed in a federal setting, you do need to have a DOJ letter. And I'll try to get that for you next week, Kirk.
Okay. I wasn't aware that you had to have the DOJ letter. I think more of the reason why I was putting it out doing the DOJ thing was because even before I was talking to you about it, the same exact thing that you came back with is that they're not receiving enough complaints to start an investigation. And it's exactly what you came back with.
Yep. Because unless you get more people out there who are willing to go up against CPS, they won't do anything.
Half an hour.
Probably 10 minutes to fill it out.
No, I mean to fill it out. Yeah, 10 minutes.
10 minutes. Mm-hmm.
So even if you don't decide to actually continue on with your lawsuit, they don't, because if you actually read on the DOJ stuff, which I posted again, they will pick up your case. Okay, when they decide to make an investigation, but they keep coming back with, well, we just don't quite have enough complaints yet to initiate an investigation. So seriously, file your complaints online, folks. Do it. Get to the DOJ website. Even if you're not going to follow through on a Title 42 side, when they give you permission, this starts popping up their numbers. And it's going to start indicating to them, hey, I don't know, maybe we ought to look into this. But unless enough people start, speaking up and saying something, it ain't going to happen. You want movement?
And that's exactly what they told me is I actually called DOJ. I actually had a communication with them, which is very hard to do. I got lucky. And they told me that. They said, unless you get more people, we don't know what's going on. People can can say what they want. But unless they file complaints and they get information about it, they don't know what to do. They can't go by it. You get one person who complains. Okay, that's just somebody bitching or, being pissed off.
Right.
But you start getting 100,000, 200,000, they're going to start taking notice.
Yeah,
and that's what they want, is they want notice.
What's going on if nobody's telling them?
Yep. And it literally takes, like I said, I'll get the link.
You're just sitting there doing nothing?
Yep. And I will get you the link and have you, show everybody how to do it. Yeah.
Can you hear me, Crystal?
Yeah, I can.
Hey,
Hi, Tony.
can we? How are you?
Tony.
Can we print off the complaint and get the templates and mail them in certified mail so people sign?
I don't know because it's an online form that I used.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
And the reason why so I have mailed a letter out to them. So I mailed a letter and I did the online form and I wanted to see which one was faster. my mail that I sent them, I have never gotten a response back to. But now the online site, 7 days later, I had a response.
7 days, okay.
Maybe we should do both, because someone has to sign for a letter if you send it certified.
Right.
But anyway.
Well, but you know what? You can send it priority with a tracking number. It's a little bit more. It's like $6.40 because I've done a few. If you do it that way, all you have to do is have a tracking number. When you do it priority mail versus certified. So if you send it that way, then you just have to track it. But the thing is you don't know how long it's going to sit in the mailroom. But I guess they have one dedicated person that the only thing they do is online requests. That's all they do all day.
Wow, okay. Good info.
So that's why I said, you do it online. Like I said, it's a very simple. I will see if I can track it down tonight and see if I can get that link, and I'll post it over to Kurt. See if I can get it, and then you guys can do it. You know, if you guys are on Facebook, then you can get the link. Dude, I did mine on my telephone, on my cell phone.
Yeah.
That's how simple
I'm the one
it
that
is.
sent you the link to that. I have that. I've been posting it.
Yeah. So I don't know if you did or how I found it, but I got it. Yeah. But I did mine clear back in February.
Yep.
So mine's been out there for a while.
Well, the reason why I'm saying do it on paper too is because when you're in court, you're creating a public record, and so if you have something that's on pen,
but you
paper,
can print it.
Yeah.
Once you fill it out, you can print it. I did.
Yes. Yes.
That's the end of
and it says right on their website, if you have evidence that you want to submit, that you have to download that, print it out, and you have to mail in your evidence. If you don't have any actual documents or evidence that you want to submit right at this time, then you can do your online complaint.
Well, the whole thing with the online though is there's no jurat. It's not sworn. It's not sworn under penalty of perjury. That's why I like to send everything certified or registered mail with a notary and a jurat saying that I swear under pains of penalty of perjury that this is true. And so when you're doing something online, you're not sworn in to tell the truth.
You are though, because they're at the bottom before you hit submit.
Have a digital
before you hit submit, it does ask you that if this is true and correct.
Yep.
It does ask you that before you submit.
It's like it's the good old John Hancock. It's like the X. It's a digital signature. As soon as you click on accept, I know what you're saying.
That. I'm just saying, how's that going to hold up in court? Some people were saying, well, I didn't know it was under pains of penalty or perjury, you know. Like when you
this is what we need to understand here. This isn't about going to court. This is about making your complaints. And if you're complaining to the DOJ, you're wanting the DOJ to do the investigation. And reading the rules under how all civil rights stuff works, okay, all of this works off of the DOJ taking your case. They become the active attorney and the party proceeding with your case.
They would become the prosecutor. They would become the prosecutor.
Yeah, I get that.
And all of this is all laid out. The special master that comes in and takes over your case. Okay.
I know, but you can use that. You can use that information in your civil case that you filed a complaint with the Department of Justice. It's just another document that you have sworn under penalty or perjury that you want criminal charges in addition to your civil charges. And so when I file a document in a civil case, I want everything else that I'm filing in the civil case. I want it in as my exhibit, so that it's just creating more of a public record. But anyways, no, I think it's great that they do have that online because you get actually a person responding. What a miracle! Mm-hmm. But anyways, it's good when you're filing your civil stuff. It's good to have everything in your trial folder and on the record and in your civil case too.
Right. Yeah, and do you remember that you can print that out before you submit it? I didn't do that with mine. I just went ahead and submitted it. But literally, it gives you, so when you get a letter back from the DOJ, you actually get a reference number and a name And that's all you need.
Yeah.
And if you don't get it back within a week, do it again. Keep doing it until you get a response.
So they call to validate and verify all the facts, correct?
Right.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Thanks, Crystal.
Oh, you're welcome. So, okay, well, you guys I just got home from work. 12-hour days suck ass, and I will talk to you guys later.
Well, I really appreciate you coming on and sharing with us again every time.
You're
love
welcome.
you. Much love. Prayers.
Love you too. Okay. Thanks, Kirk. Okay.
Thank you, Crystal.
Bye-bye. Oh,
all right. One of my favorite ladies. She actually went and did what we had talked about doing, and it was effective. And she's in court. She's in federal court. Filed her own Title 42 lawsuit. Okay, which is a lot of what Tony has already been doing for years. Okay, so I'm still trying to learn the Title 42 stuff myself. So I'm trial and error right now, and I'm trying to learn from Tony, and I'm trying to learn from Fred, and I'm trying to learn from a couple different books that I have, because I have a couple of suits that I'm filing. So I will get on here after all this is over, and I will put out again on this live feed the DOJ website, all of that information that I posted on there. And actually, Holly, I see you on here. I posted that stuff on Holly's page today as well, and I posted it in Chris Hallett's group. Same thing. Get on the DOJ website and file your complaints with the DOJ. We got to start doing something. You got to start getting the DOJ's attention. They're not going to do anything because they don't know. They don't know what's going on over here. They don't know what's going on over there. They only know what's going on right in front of them. And unless somebody speaks up and says something, they're not going to know. And again, when I'm talking about filing this complaint online, you're basically saying, look, I can't do this on my own, so will you help me? Here's my complaint. Is this a valid complaint? But we got to have enough of them for them to start the investigation. Unless yours has got some extenuating circumstances, they're just going to treat it like everybody else and say, well, we don't have enough complaints to start an investigation. And if it does have extenuating circumstances, they're going to pick it up. They appoint a special master. It gets prosecuted. It all goes through kind of like a criminal case would go through when it's against you, except for now you're the plaintiff. You're the moving party. And that's the thing you want to do. And no matter what case you're in, is you want to flip the roles. You want to stop being the defendant and become the plaintiff. You want to become the moving party. Put them on the defense, see how they like it. And I'll tell you what, things start changing real quick. And I know Tony knows firsthand on that. He frickin' sued a judge, so it can happen, folks. You gotta start doing it. We gotta have some movement, making towards changes. I see my buddy Alan's on here, so I wanted to say hi to Alan, Holly, Rebecca. Hello, Rebecca. I see you on here. Chad, I haven't had a chance to talk with you too much yet, but we need to talk. Joyce, you're a new one. Diane, Natalie, got some reflection here. My buddy Alan Weeder, Fernando Cook, Morales. I don't know how to say that one. Who else do we have on here? I think I did see Sarah on here once before, but I don't know if she's still on here. From Health Freedom Idaho here in Idaho. We've got some pretty neat ladies here in Idaho, Health Freedom Idaho. They're on Facebook. They're dealing with the vaccine stuff. They've got a ton of research done on the vaccine type stuff. And we have another Sarah who's dealing with our state legislature and the statute saying that they have to do a waiver. If you don't want your child vaccinated to go to public school, you got to fill out a waiver. Well, the statute says the parent has to. The parent or guardian has to fill it out. And you have the Department of Health and Welfare who's stepping in there and saying, we've created this form and you have to fill this out. And they're handing it to the schools and telling the schools that the schools have to present this to any parent who wants to put their parent in a public school, and you have to fill out this form. No. So there's some pretty cool stuff going on there with Help Freedom Idaho, and ACLA is working with them as well. So there may be a class action lawsuit going on there if those people don't get straightened up right quick like. And they've been down to the representatives. They even put together a bill trying to get a bill passed to get this all straightened up. And at the last minute, basically, the Department of Health and Welfare wiped off like one whole page of this 2-page deal and turned it into 1 page and thought, well, this ought to be good enough. It's still not good enough because there's no delegation of authority. Here we go again. There is no delegation of authority for the agency, Department of Health and Welfare, to make this form, to provide to the schools, to provide to the parents, and then tell the parents, you have to fill this out. And what it is it's incriminating. It incriminates the parent who says, oh, yeah, well, even though I'm objecting or waiving this under religious or other reasons, okay, I'm aware that I could be injuring my child is basically what the wording says. They don't put it exactly like that, but that's what they construe it as. And anyone and all of those people out there that have been in this family law, CPS, DCF, all that good, whatever it's called in your state, Child Protective Services, Department of Social Services, they go off of their own policy and think they can just do whatever the hell they want to do. And we need to start picking up the law. We need to start shaking it at them and say, look, here it is. This is what the law says. And what you're doing is wrong. And you need to stop. No. No is the word of the day. Every day, all day long, it needs to be no. You don't have the authority to act that way. All right, Robert, let's bring you back on, brother.
What's up?
You still with it? Yeah, okay. You're still with us. All right.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so you on here 2 hours tonight? Is that what you're on?
Yes.
Ted's doing a wonderful thing, isn't he?
We got another 32 minutes on Blog Talk.
So all that information that was just passed out, very good information, man. Very good information.
Thank you. It needs to get out there. We really need to start punching that DOJ letter. Hammer that stuff home. We need enough complaints for them to get their attention. Okay, once you get the DOJ involved, I don't know if it's actually gonna make a difference or could make a difference. I'm trying to have a lot of faith here, and I'm praying to God that it can. But we don't know if it's going to do any good if we don't do it. We can't not do it because we don't think it may or not do something. We need to at least try. And, I'm in several different groups, estranged parents and grandparents. There's a ton of you parents and grandparents out there. There's plenty of other groups. There's a ton of parents that I see all the time. Very similar stuff. Go file these complaints. I'm going to get this DOJ stuff out there. Got too much resources being used for what we're doing right now. So when this is all over, I'm going to jump back on the live video feed, and I'm going to put it in there unless somebody else beats me to it. But I'm going to put it in there, the DOJ website, and that you can fill out this. Crystal was just explaining it. Took her like 10, 15 minutes, okay, to fill this complaint out online. It's easy peasy. And the more they get, the likelihood of them actually starting to do something is plausible. Again, it all goes back to they're not going to do anything if we're not complaining. They're not receiving the complaints. They don't know. They don't know nothing.
Could we?
Right. So we got about a half hour left. If anybody has any questions they'd like to get on in here, give us a call on that number there, area code 516-387-1481. And there's Ted there. How you doing, Ted, brother?
Good.
Still hanging in there?
I'm good, man. Make sure the mic's on. We're good.
Yes.
I think So how about this? How about you fill out the complaint letter? So all people have to do is copy, paste, sign, send. Make it as easy.
Like I can't do that because each individual's case is different.
Right. You have to put specifics of your case.
Yeah, and when I get it posted on here, it's online. It's an online form.
Right.
And it's only like 12 questions.
Okay.
And half of it's already there. And then it has a little tiny section where you're kind of making your claims.
Okay. I know
it's really simple to do online.
It sounds weird, but trying to get people to do mailers and emails and stuff over the last year, I've found it to be so difficult. And I know that this DOJ letter, I'm understanding now that this could have the potential to do way more than an email. So if there's any way that we could make it so easy for people, like fill out it as much as possible, obviously have the link, send it to each individual person on your friends list, make it so simple.
Well, no, see, you're not understanding this. This is so simple. You go into the DOJ website, you pull up their little short form, you fill out the blank spaces, you fill in blank spaces, and you click submit. You're done.
You're done. All right.
It goes directly to the DOJ, okay?
I'm gonna.
And if they pick up your case, they prosecute.
Okay. All right.
Everybody should have been filling them out. You know what I mean? Everybody should have been.
I've been trying to put this out for a good 6 to 8 months, guys.
So this is something like we could even bring.
Actually, yeah, because I turned Crystal on to it in February.
Right. So if we could even print this out, take 50, 100 of them, go down to the local courthouse or local, child support enforcement or CPS office, and just start handing these things out to people driving by. That might help too.
But to be real honest with you, that would help. But we need thousands of people to do this.
Oh yeah.
I mean, we really do. We need to get out over the platforms, every platform if we can, and get people to start doing this.
Right.
I mean,
I can pull it up on my end right now. So
it's me and Kirk talked about it 7 months ago. You know what I mean? That
right.
Oaths of office and what was going on with the oaths, and you get into reading so much, and it's like you got to reread stuff 2 or 3 times to really get a grasp on it, because I swear it all leads back to the Constitution. There ain't no way around it.
Right, Kirk. If you have the HTML, the address, if you could message that to me, I'll pull it up and show it to everybody right now.
Well, you know my situation over here. If I try to do anything with my laptop,
Robert. So I'll
just it's
DOJ. Department
it's kind
of
of hard to
Justice.
find.
Do you know where it is?
DOJ.gov.
Okay.
But I know what's that.
If you find it before me, send me a message and I'll pull it up and show everybody.
Type in DOJ.gov/complaints.
Civil Rights
you need
Division.
to touch on that. You need to touch on complaints and I'm trying to say here, complaints and claims too, for people, so they understand that, because I think people's taking the wrong process sometimes on that. I hear it a lot.
Yeah. We need to make claims of right violations. You have to claim the right. That's, again, the claim and exercise of right can't be converted into a crime. But if you violate my rights, I'm claiming that you're in violation of my rights. I'm not complaining.
Right.
I'm not here to complain.
Right.
I'm here to make a claim, and you are to be held accountable for that violation.
It's really hard to make people, because they see a complaint, they throw it in the trash. They see a claim, now they got to do something with the claim. You know what I mean? So
that's what Title 42 does. Is it's claims. Tort claims is the criminal side of it. Well, tort claims is actually for damages. for damages for the criminal. It's the civil. The tort claims is the civil side, but it includes the damages because of the criminal side. And if you get awarded damages for the criminal acts, this is why the Attorney General has to take it up and go after them criminally. After it's been adjudicated civilly, your torts get assessed for damage by the jury. Okay, the jury says, yes, this one, this one, this one. This one's worth $250,000. This one's worth $500,000. All of that goes through, and then it gets adjudicated over criminally. It has to go through the criminal side. But you have to make your claims. They are claims. They're not complaints. But with the DOJ, it's a complaint form. But within the complaint form, you're making claims. There's a little tiny section there to make your claims. What are you claiming that they do wrong? What rights did they violate? And it has to fall under a certain section, okay? And that's the reason why I want to post what I have, because I went in and I've read exactly all of the information that they have there, and it was under like 8.1203. So there's a little bit of digging to do there that their form itself is pretty simple. You can fill that sucker right out and say, well, they did this and they did that, and they'll decide. See, that's another thing we have to understand. We don't have to claim exactly the proper words in accordance with the law. It says, like, okay, you violated my privacy. That's a violation of the Fourth Amendment. Okay, I don't have to say that I claim he violated the Fourth Amendment under, the right to be secure in my person. No, he violated my privacy. What they do is they look at that and go, well, you prove what they did. Well, what did they do? Well, he came up to my house and he started peering through my window here. Well, okay, now that's trespassing. That's a violation of your privacy. Okay, they kicked in the door. CPS kicks in the door. Okay, now that's a violation. That's without a warrant. Okay, all you're doing is you're making claims that your rights were violated, and you get to tell your story of what these other people did, and they decide what crimes they have committed. So it's not as hard as you think it is. You don't even really have to know what the wording of the Fourth Amendment says. They do. They know what it says, and they know how it works.
Yeah, and I'd suggest people use the shortest sentences they can, because you start using words and they start turning them words into something else. So, I would go with what Kirk's saying. I would just put what they're violating, one of the amendment, and that'd be about it. And I'd let them figure it out.
Right.
In the DOJ, are you looking under civil division, civil rights division, or criminal division?
Civil rights division.
Okay. Still looking.
Anybody else having a problem with the live feed freezing up? Tony Pellegrino saying it does.
It looked fine to me. Facebook is always glitchy. If you're having problems, right, and it's a real pain in the butt, then go to YouTube on the Marches page, the Marches channel, and so it's on YouTube there. Also, if you like Periscope, it's on Twitter. If you watch a lot of gaming, it's on Twitch. And there's a couple of platforms all over the country. All over the world that it's on. We get listeners.
Yeah, Diana, she says you can file a civil case, then file a criminal case. No, that's not how it works. You file your civil case, and you include your tort claims for the criminal violations, and the jury decides the criminal violations. Okay, and once your civil case gets adjudicated and you win, your criminal, the crimes that have been found and established, and the damages you've been awarded for those crimes under tort claims, okay, then, see, you have to establish the crimes that were committed in order for the crimes to go criminal. So you have to do the civil first. And see, that's why when you're in the middle of a case, say CPS comes to your house, kicks in your door, takes your kids and runs off with them, bam, you can automatically go right onto this DOJ website. You can file a complaint, and then they don't want to take it up. They will tell you, you know what? File your Title 42 lawsuit. That is a civil rights claim, and you can claim your torts violation, your torts in there, tort claims, and get paid, okay, for violating your rights. And then that establishes the crimes that they committed. And then the attorney gets turned over to the Attorney General, and the Attorney General, he's the head prosecutor for the state, and he will go after those criminals. Well, you committed crimes because damages were awarded, and you can't get damages awarded unless you committed a crime. So you have to follow proper procedure. Civil first, tort claims, you get awarded your damages, and that creates the crimes. There's no getting out of it. You've already been awarded. That's how that works.
So this is what I found. I found a list, and most of it is ADA. There's something in Spanish. I found a generic complaint form. I click it. Page not found.
I was just on there. I was actually wanting to post before I got started tonight, but
it's a complaint consent / release form, but I think that would go along with the complaint form if they're asking you questions, because it asks you for a complaint number.
Right.
So
I want people to understand that what this is doing, if we go on the DOJ website, you're raising a flag, okay, to the DOJ. You're telling on the people. You're raising a flag to the appropriate people within the proper delegation of authority to investigate these people, okay? Department of Justice. So I'm not telling you not to file your Title 42s. I'm not telling you to do that. What I'm telling you to do, and the reason why I'm telling you to do this, is to go on the DOJ to file your complaints, so it raises enough flags with the DOJ to start working from the top down and start investigating these corrupt courts and the corrupt judges and the guardian ad litems and the CPS and their policies and the whole 9 yards. Okay, we've got to help bring this to the attention of the Department of Justice. You know, people keep asking, well, what do we do? What do we do? Here's one thing you can do. File that complaint. Looks like we got another question here. Let's take this one up real quick. 3117. Who do we have? Who are we talking to?
Are you there?
Yes, I can hear you. Who are we talking to?
Hang on. Okay. Chad.
Hi, Chad. How are you?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
Not too bad. Hanging in there.
What do you have
for a question?
I probably got a million questions, but I'll give you the one. I have a case concerning child support, and I guess it's probably one of the most common questions, I don't know, about, there was a letter, and I got it downloaded on my phone, and I can't think of it right away, but the Department of Justice put out to the states concerning child support and taking driver licenses and applying penalties for unpaid child support and things like that. Yep. Well, I got that. I received that by text. I'd say about 4 months ago after I sent them that letter. Of course, that was their response.
Yeah.
But I owe like $17,900 and some dollars in back child support that was put upon me. Now, granted, this child, long story short, biologically, I'm not his father. I did sign the birth certificate. That's probably my mistake, and that's probably what, I would say did it. But I guess my concern is I'm not able to do anything to fight this. The percentage, it's like 10 or 20% they tacked on top of the child support. They threatened to take my driver's license away. Like 2 months after the court date, they put a warrant out for my arrest for the back child support.
They put out a warrant, and then they tacked on. They can't tack on no percentage for nothing. They don't have the authority to do that.
Yeah, they tacked on top of my child support for the arrears. They put on 10%.
Oh, right.
For what do you call it?
Arrears.
Yeah, arrearage. But the 10% is like the penalty for your unpaid arrears. Is that legal, or is that...
No. They're not a judge. They don't have the authority to do that. Go get a frickin' court order if you think that's... No. And in fact, when you get your paperwork, if you read your paperwork, you actually have 21 days to respond. Take it to a hearing. Make them prove their jurisdiction to even do that. They're handing me paperwork saying that they're gonna suspend my license. Where's the court order to say that they can do that?
Yeah, that's what they want to do. Take my license. They want to take. I mean, they've taken my fishing license, my hunting. I can't get that. Any license. And like I said, the Department of Justice letter.
Rule 60D Delta fraud. Motion to vacate all of their garbage for fraud.
Now, is that the DOJ letter?
No, that's Rule 60D Delta fraud.
What
independent action?
Okay, what was the Department of Justice letter sent to each state for doing such things, like taking licenses or adding interest?
Yeah, that's what the DOJ letter there is for, was to inform the states to stop doing stuff and taking people's privileges away from them or depriving of them their rights, without first considering whether they can actually pay.
Exactly.
That's what it's about.
Okay.
Assessing your actual ability to pay. Funds available. Not, hey, he's a perfectly healthy man over here, but he's only making $500 a month. And then they try to say, well, you have the ability to make such and such, so we're going to assess you at this. No. That's not, and that's what the DOJ letter does, is no. You have to look at what he is making, not what you think, not what you want to apply your arbitrary power here. You don't have that power. And this was the DOJ letter that came out, what was this, like 2015, I think, 2014?
14, I think it was.
Yeah. So, yeah, basically it was supposed to smack the courts around and, hey, dummies, you guys are not supposed to be doing that. You can't assess anything. You have to go off of actual income that the person is making. So if you're talking about a disabled veteran, he doesn't have any income, so you can't assess his ability to make anything. He doesn't have an income.
Yeah.
That's disability. Okay? So you can't go in and suspend his license, and you can't, like what they're doing to Jay Moss. Oh, well, you're going to have to go get a job, or we're going to throw you in jail. No, I'm a disabled veteran. Kick rocks.
Yeah, I've read Jay Moss's things, and it's kind of crazy, I think. Well, see, I have filed for my disability because I've had a few injuries and accidents. I've worked very heavy construction, steel buildings, concrete, any. Right. And I'm so full of arthritis. My shoulders, I had to have one totally replaced, the other one worked on, a knee replacement, and there's not much I can do. And I've been out of work for 4 years because it's very difficult to find a job. One, being that way. Two, being the child support, you know, and the other things that they want to look up in your past history that, you know, to put on you to not give you a job. Which, you know, I understand liability purposes because, you know, anybody and everybody wants to sue anymore. But, and not for the right reasons is what I'm saying. But a lot of people want to sue for piddly things that, and not legit things. But again, my case was, like I said, I was not the biological parent. I have not seen him since 2010. The court case was in 2013, the beginning, and I still have not seen him. And they still appointed me as father, made me pay back child support that I've already paid and insurance and everything else.
Yes.
And the father even actually came in, gave his rights up. And I was in agreement at first, and I said, listen, I need a lawyer. I need representation or something. I don't know exactly what's going on here. I was told 3 different things by the guardian ad litem and child support. And then it was all of a sudden, he goes, too late, case closed. I was like, what? Really? No.
Yeah.
And they kind of put the screw in me, and I still haven't seen him. I've seen him 3 times. And he is now 18 since he was 10 years old.
Wow.
And yeah, exactly. It's pretty terrible, and he is now
put up that DOJ letter.
Yeah, I got it too. But he is now going through
the civil rights,
what you would call rebellion, or it's all coming out of him. You know what I mean? The alienation and all that stuff. He's acting out. He's gets in fights with his mom and all. You know, but I have to let it go because there's nothing I can do.
Right. And you don't have a strong enough bond with the child to have a direct effect like that.
No, not anymore. Not since 2010. I mean, he was 10 years old. Yeah. And well, the thing is, what started it all was he was 9 years old, and his mother was mad at me and told him about his biological father. Now, granted, this woman graduated psychology, okay, and should have known. Don't tell your child, 9-year-old child, about this thing until it's fully capable of understanding. So immediately, I don't have a father, or I don't have this, or, you know, I'm the only one. And it just went downhill from there. So now he's really, really messed up. But as far as the interest they've tacked on, the 10% is, you know, I assume that's illegal. I mean, I've gotten into it with these people several times. And like I said, not 2 months after the case, the court case, the custody case, or not custody case, child support, they put a warrant out for my arrest. Granted, out of my kindness of my heart and love, I took as a father to this child. And
but see, again, you're talking things that are civil in nature. That's not criminal in nature. So how do you issue a warrant for somebody's arrest when you're talking things that are civil in nature?
Yeah, for back child support that I've already paid. And out of my pocket.
And you had proof of that too, right?
I did not, because there was another situation that the proof disappeared. I had money orders and everything, and it got, I was very upset. Luckily I had the insurance, that I paid insurance on him. I held insurance on him since he was 6 months old. I paid for his clothes, I paid for his school, I paid for everything. This woman had to pay for nothing but her house bill. And she wanted more.
Well, we're down to less than 5 minutes here on Blog Talk, and we may continue on because there's still there is another question here. So hang in there, folks. May have to call in. Let me grab this other question real quick.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. 5497. Who are you talking with?
This is Brian. I didn't have a question. I had a comment.
Well, how are you doing, sir?
I am blessed and highly favored. Little pressed, little persecuted, but we're not abandoned nor forsaken. I think if anybody takes the time to look at the decision that came out of Alabama there that was just released in May of 2017 on Candace Edwards' case, where she was incarcerated for non-payment of support. The judge there said that keeping people in jail cells for weeks or months simply because they can't afford to pay for their freedom coerces people to plead guilty even if they are innocent, waste taxpayers' money on unnecessary detention, is a form of wealth-based discrimination which is prohibited by the Constitution. So I think that and what that happened there was in cohorts with the Southern Poverty Law Project was filing suit against the court for discriminatorial practices. And I still am a big advocate of tort claim actions and going after the judges. But one of the questions that I have, Kurt, is that, you have to have the injunction, You can file for an injunction, and that's what happened in her case there, in the Edwards case, was filing for an injunction to prohibit the state courts from proceeding until the federal courts intervene. And I think that's what a lot of these folks should be doing in their own personal cases, is filing another action in the federal court, because everybody gets confused and saying, oh no, you can't take a state court matter to the federal courts. You're not taking the state court matter to the federal courts. What you're taking to the federal courts is the deprivations of rights during the state court proceedings, which ultimately put you at a great disadvantage. So I just wanted to call in and just say, hey, keep up the good work and keep on pressing.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. And you've done enough over the years, and I appreciate what you're still doing for us fathers and mothers and parents and grandparents. I do pray for you, brother. You're still standing strong, even in everything that you've been through.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, I still go back to what, Justice Blackmun said in 1983, that there's no evidence that Congress ever meant to exclude judges from injunctions under the Section 1983 jurisprudence. And I'm saying, more and more people need to stand up and demand that their God-given, constitutionally protected, unalienable rights are adhered to the letter of the law. I just find it redundant to go out and people say, well, you can't sue a judge. Well, according to Williams versus Illinois, I think it was Judge Marshall and Brennan, said that, some of the most, he said, was the court's refusal to confront. He said this is the gravest and most persistent problem facing the American judiciary today, is the lack of accountability from the judiciary. And it's not my words, it's his words. And I'm saying, well, now if you have Justice Marshall and Justice Brennan saying that back in 1983, why the hell is it that nobody's taken a concerted effort to looking at the gravity of the problem that's only escalated to the point whereas, it's either going to be done through an educated class to be able to file these injunctions against the judges and begin criminal prosecutions for the violations of our rights, or it's going to result in a mass uprising by the people in arms. It's was at critical mass stage.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
I miss you, Brian. I miss you, buddy.
I'm still here, brother. Still here.
Well, I got you. I was gonna give you a couple weeks to relax, and then I was gonna get back with you. So
I wish I had time to relax. I ain't got time to wipe my ass half the time. You know, it's always on the run, always going, pressing and praying. But you know, God is good all the time, and I just, you know, when I took him, when we got that the Edwards case and stuff, going right along with the Department of Justice, because that's one of the things that was submitted there too, is the letterhead saying that you cannot continually incarcerate people simply because they refuse to be coerced into your actions to try to beat us into submission to adapt to your ideology, that the only benefit that a parent has is a financial attribute that he can provide. You know, him or her.
Right.
Okay, and that's what's stupid. There's a whole lot more to being a parent than a textbook.
For debt. That's the Eighth Amendment. Nor excessive fines or unusual punishment. That's the Eighth Amendment. Simple as that.
It is. Yeah, that's what a lot of people that don't understand too is talk about evidence earlier. You know, these courts that we're going to, it's they don't have to take your evidence because they're not a criminal court. You're not.
Well, they're tribunals. That's the first mistake that everybody makes, Robert. They say that they're courts. They're tribunals.
Right.
Yes.
Right. So that's where I think people will think, well, I gave the evidence up. Why didn't they? Well, they don't have to accept it. It ain't really even legal to present evidence in that court because you're not charged with a crime in that court. You're not going to court to try to prove your innocence.
Yeah.
And that's people just don't understand it. So
this is why we got to object to the jurisdiction from the get-go. Affidavit of status. This is how I'm going to stand here in this tribunal, and this tribunal doesn't have the jurisdiction to hear shit. Period. You're done.
They don't. I mean, if you look at the Constitution, you look at everything that we've talked about tonight, and they don't.
There's a challenge made to jurisdiction. Jurisdiction must be established, and if they can't establish the jurisdiction, and they proceed without establishing jurisdiction, there it is. That's a violation of your Fifth Amendment right to due process of law. You have to establish jurisdiction once challenged. You don't want to do that? We're going to federal court. You're violating my civil rights. You're done.
See, that's why I want people to
file an injunction, file a temporary protection order against them. Even if you got people harassing you, TPO their ass. Done.
While theoretically correct, the practical application of that, because just as it was in our case, going all the way up to the U.S. Supreme Court, and I have the state Supreme Court of Ohio, and I have the federal U.S. Supreme Court saying that this court has elected not to accept jurisdiction to hear these matters, okay? Once as you put them into a catch-22 box, and they know they have no wiggle room, and that you're coming for their ass, then they begin to take notice. Then you get things like your children returned to you. But then the problem still comes back to, okay, what about the deprivations of rights that you caused me 8.5 years of my life? What about all that? There has to be a tort claim action, and that there is within the scope of your jurisdiction.
Right. Yep. Absolutely. Has to be some remedy there for your time, I mean...
it's a hard fight because you're going against all that evil. But like I keep saying, shine the light on them. Truth, facts, and evidence, shine the light on them. Evil cannot stand in the light. And we need to start shining the light on them. We need to get on the DOJ website. Even if you're not going to follow through with filing a Title 42, still go on the DOJ website, fill out that complaint. Takes you 15, 20 minutes to fill it out. It's just, and all it's going to do is it's going to keep raising flags with the DOJ that, hey, we got a problem over here in Ohio. We got a problem over here in Illinois. Hey, we got holy smoke. And they start getting all these complaints from all over the United States. It's going to raise a big flag. This one right here, the American way. Rights and justice don't be denied or disparaged, period. And they're being denied, they're being disparaged. We need to start.
I want you to talk about the I want you to start talking about, like, okay, the state, the judge creates your debt. Okay, the state is creating your debt. So, at some point, we're going to have to figure out, okay, how do we sue for that one? Can we take them into civil court and say, look, no, you guys created my debt, so I'm going to sue you to pay my debt off.
This is where your status, your affidavit of status is. I'm a natural man. I'm a living human being. See, look at this. I'm a real man, and you're attacking the natural man, playing off dead contracts, and you're talking dog Latin, all capital letters. Show me in the English language where we write in all capital letters. You know, right. when we go to mathematics, 2 + 2 = 4, and I can show you in the principles of mathematics how that all works out. But can you go to the English language and show me the rules and the principles in English language that we write in all capital letters in the English language? I mean, this is just, I'm just thinking out loud. You know, this is part of my argument when it comes time for that kind of stuff, is show me in the English language where we write that way. But you can't.
Right. See, because they're creating our debt. We're not creating our debt.
The language of the dead. And it's a corpse, corporation. Corpse is the root of corporation. So we're dealing, again, in the contracts realm of things, equity, probate, under admiralty. I mean, they've kind of like just combined everything all into one. It's probate, it's equity, and it's admiralty, all in one tribunal. And they want to do whatever the hell they want to do. And well, we're not going to allow you to enter any evidence, and we're not going to allow you to testify. And, you know, we're going to let them say whatever they want. They don't have to follow the rules of evidence. They don't even have to follow the rules of procedure. As long as it's somewhat semblance of taking your rights away from you, it's okay. Well, we need to start complaining. We need to start sending out DOJ stuff and filing our lawsuits. We need to start making our claims, holding these individuals in their natural person accountable, because ignorance of the law is no excuse. Okay? You put yourself out there as being a representative in a position of public trust, and you're supposed to be a law enforcement type person. You cannot claim ignorance of the law. That's just an oxymoron. Right. And that's just racks my brain. Oh, well, I'm law enforcement, and but you know, I'm going to claim immunity, and I can't be held accountable for anything that I've done wrong, but I'm going to claim ignorance of the law.
I think we could get them right now. I mean, I think everybody could get them right now with practicing law from the bench on these judges before, because they're acting as state witnesses. That's what they're doing, because you have no jury. You know what I mean? And I hope people start understanding that, because that judge is actually practicing law from the bench, because he is the witness. That's
now,
what he's playing.
Here's the thing: is when you're being deprived of your ancient right to a trial by jury, anytime you're going to be deprived of your life, your liberty, or your property, you have to see. This is the thing you need to understand: you always have the right to a trial by jury. Okay, it doesn't have to be criminal. This is an ancient right, long before the Constitution was ever even thought of being written. Okay, this is an ancient right. Anytime you're being deprived of your life, your liberty, or your property, you have the right to a trial by jury, because the government doesn't have the power to make any kind of legislation dealing with fundamental rights. And that's a fundamental right. It is an ancient fundamental right. Okay? The Bill of Rights, that's all comes from fundamental rights from God, declared in the Declaration of Independence, law of nature. These are supposed to be self-evident, and they have nothing to do with the establishment, support, or management of government. We didn't delegate any kind of authority for the government, which is an inanimate object. It's a figment of the imagination. And actually, it's not even an inanimate object. It doesn't even exist. When I say show me the government, can you point to it? Can you grab a hold of it? Can you show it to me? Can you even describe it? No. Government is a figment of the imagination and has been written down on a piece of paper, which happens to be our Constitution. That's our form of government, which is Article 4, Section 4 that is supposed to be a guaranteed a Republican form of government, a constitutional republic. Republic, by the public. All right, well, I'm going to kill this over here on Blog Talk, and we're going to jump over here back to the March Us and the live feed on. This is all going to stay going, so you guys out there aren't really going to notice any difference. There might be a jump in some audio. Ted, you want to roll some audio and let me get this squared away? Sure. Thank you, Brian Kincher, for coming on and Future of Our Children. We really appreciate the sponsorship here, and this show's starting to take off. We need to get this education out there and get people educated. Thank you all for joining in tonight, and we're going to continue on live on Facebook.
Thank you for using Blog Talk Radio. Goodbye.
All right, we should be all set already. It's as simple as that.
Boom, we are here. Roll some music here, and I'm gonna.
Oh shoot. Well, I guess they're still on Facebook. If they wanted to come back on, they would have to call in.
Yeah, that's the only problem with switching over is.
But see, I can go to Facebook on my laptop because I'm not running Blog Talk, and I can actually put in that DOJ stuff.
There you go. Yeah, you need that little bit extra, or that's a lot of CPU you're using to just run that. So you should be fine now. No.
Yeah, running Blog Talk on my laptop, doing the direct connect instead of calling in on my phone.
Yeah.
Yeah, it runs around 80%, 83%. And as soon as I touch anything on my laptop, it kills the audio and garbles it up. And so I apologize out there. You know, I'm kind of watching the live feed on my cell phone, but I can't really respond to any of that. Right. And I can't post anything because it's kind of hard to post. Maybe eventually I'll get something squared away here where I can multitask on the same computer. Gonna need a little more firepower here.
Well, if you know, I've got some ideas, so if I could get everything going on this system where we have, because the audio on Blog Talk is very clear and it's not unpredictable. It's always pretty well solid, except for that one time where we found you were exceeding your CPU limits, and then we started having problems. But beyond that,
yes,
it's a lot clearer than what I can get through this conference call app called Zoom. But I was wondering, we went well over 10 o'clock. Did Mr. Davis do something special, you think? Did he add an hour onto your show or something?
Well, no. Blog Talk will only go live for an hour and 20 minutes.
Okay. Oh,
so if somebody was listening online on Blog Talk, on blogtalkradio.com, if they were listening there, the show ended right at 2-hour mark.
Oh, it did?
But it still continues to record on Blog Talk Radio on my studio.
I see.
The problem we were having was somehow I was getting disconnected.
Right.
Usually like 5 to 8 minutes before the end of the 2-hour show. And I was getting booted as, you know, because I'm the host. I'm logged in as the host. And somebody was kicking me off or something. Okay, here it is. I got it.
Yeah,
I was
expecting you to write it like 10 o'clock for it to be done and over. I didn't realize you had that option to continue while just recording. Yep. That's good to know.
Yeah, it used to do that in the very beginning. We used to have, you know, conversations, continue the conversation after the live part.
Right.
And it still would be archived. So, you know, when it gets uploaded to Blog Talk Radio for archiving, you know, the show could be 2 hours and 35 minutes.
I see.
So you'd have to go back and listen if you wanted to catch what was said after the 2-hour mark. You wanted to catch the last half hour of the show, what we talked about You know, at first, when I first started doing it, I thought this was all in private.
Oh.
Yeah. So we were saying some stuff that's, you know, a lot more crazy law type stuff and getting really in deep, you know, really deep into some stuff. And I was like, oh crap, I don't want that out there, man. I was like, I'll go and delete it. I'll go and delete it. And I'm like, okay. So, all right. So I'm going to post this on here, the live feed. Exactly what I'm talking about, the DOJ website.
I wonder if you'll get the same thing. I checked a couple different areas. Page not found. Everything else is there. Unless that final one I found was what you're talking about. It sounded like maybe I finally just went to Google, you know, I Googled the exact page that said it was not found.
So I went back into my Kirk's Law Corner private group and went way back. I mean, like I said, I posted it like 8 months ago, easily 8 months ago. Because if Crystal did hers in February.
Right. And that.
Let me see. Yep, there it is. Okay. Okay, here it is. DOJ. As soon as it gets done loading. Now, we pull this over here. That may... Let's see. Let's see what it does. Okay, here it is. It's DOJ. Now see, it didn't post. And why is it going to there? It's www.justice.gov, how to file a complaint.
Okay.
And I'm gonna repost that again. Just that link. Justice.gov, how to file a complaint.
Took me right to page not found.
It just came right up for me.
Did it?
I'm on it right now. Criminal section, disability rights section, education opportunity sections, employment litigation section, federal. It's in simplified Chinese, traditional Chinese, Filipino, French, Korean. And it still won't take you to it, bro. What's up with that?
I've got www.justice.gov/how to file a complaint, all one word.
Oh, no, don't even try and type that all out.
Oh, okay.
Click on the link.
The link. Okay, I'll write it, okay.
Yeah, it's www.justice.gov/
right.
CRT/ how it's the line hyphen file hyphen complaint.
Okay.
You let me pull up your. I'll just put it right in yours. But that's it. How to file a complaint. It's all right there. There you go. I just sent it to you, Ted.
Okay, cool.
All right, so while we're on here, is there any questions maybe? I'm sure everybody's waiting for that right there. And there's a phone call. You can call in too. You can call them.
Yeah, now you can call this number right here. Let me pop it up if people wanted to call.
Right.
Where is it?
That was pretty awesome that Brian came on the show tonight.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let me explain this right here. 8.1 is in the general section, so that you guys can have an idea of what it's talking about and this, what the Civil Rights Division actually does. This will just blow your mind if you've never looked into the civil rights protections, remedies under the law. I mean, even for me, I looked at that and went, "Oh, wow, that's some pretty good stuff." Because all I predominantly have studied is criminal law and civil law and now family law the last 2.5, 3 years. So, yeah.
Oh, English, right.
Here's civil statutes: 15 United States Code 1691 EH 315, 18 USC 248, 20 USC 1681A, 1706, 1709, 28 USC 1862. See, these are all your causes of action. You violate these people, these actors, state actors out here, violate these statutes, and that becomes a civil offense. And then the criminal statutes, you know, Title 18 United States Code 241 and 248. So 241 through 248 are the criminal ones. 241 and 242 are the most common ones, and that's acting under color of law. Okay, and if it involves kidnapping, you can seek the death penalty. And there's a certain few people that I just warned them about that you know that this case involves kidnapping, that we can seek the death penalty against you. And I'll tell you right now, that prosecutor had been shaken, and literally you could see her shaking.
Wow.
Clearly visible the whole time during the case that she's railroading. I really don't want to talk about this case, but I am, because when you know, I'm telling you, when you know this stuff, and you act under color of law, Title 18, Section 241 or 242, and I can seek the death penalty against you for violating this, this is the crime that you're committing here. When you hear that, and maybe you're on the receiving end of that, you know, when you talk death penalty, that's, you know, I mean, that's just how serious we are about violating civil rights. You know, just the simple of coming onto somebody's property, kicking in their door, taking their kids, that is kidnapping. You don't have a warrant. The law of the land says how this all is supposed to go. And see, that's the thing. Statutory law, they don't have, again, fundamental rights. They have nothing to do with the legislative branch. They cannot, you know, they cannot establish anything regarding these rights, because the supreme law of the land dictates the process. This process that is due to you. That's due process of law. As a human being, this is the process that is due to you, and it's laid out in the supreme law of the land. Or in this case, some of it is in the law of the land, which is your state constitutions. But see, there again, Article 6, Clause 2, anything in the Constitution or laws of a state to the contrary are notwithstanding in law. So you still have the hierarchy. You have the supreme law of the land, which is your Bill of Rights, and they'll try and claim that, well, the Bill of Rights don't apply to the states. BS. Every judge, Article 6, Clause 2, the judges in every state shall be bound thereby. Article 6, Clause 3, everybody from the legislative branch, the executive branch, and the judicial branch shall be bound thereby. So I don't care who you are, if you're taking a position of public trust, or you're a public official, public servant, Okay, those are people who are elected officials. That's what an official is. Okay, so you have elected officials, and you have people who are appointed by the elected officials into a position of public trust. Okay, so we elect our public officials, the governor. Okay, then your city mayors. Then you have your sheriff, because you vote on your sheriff, who your sheriffs are. You even vote on your Supreme Court justices. Okay, all of those are voted on. Those are actually officials. Okay, and all of those officials, under their duties under the law, have the power to appoint public servants into a position of public trust. And so when they are whatever agency that they're under obligation, under contract, okay, back to contract law, because the Constitution's a contract, to perform specific duties morally and ethically under the law, not under color of law. So I'm going to take a short break, just a 5-minute. Maybe you want to roll some music, or if there's anybody that has called in. I haven't heard a ding ding. So
no, nobody's called. There is 11 people, it says, watching right now on Facebook. I haven't checked YouTube or anything else, but I'll go ahead and play that, and when you come back, you can see how you feel, if anybody's called in, and we'll take it from there.
All right, I'll be right back after these messages.
Kirk is not an attorney. This is not legal advice. This is to be considered for educational purposes only.
All right. All right, so, I keep talking about this Virginia Declaration of Rights, and I'm gonna pull my book open here. Here we are. This is straight out of the Annals of America. This volume is volume number 2. This is from 1755 to 1783, Resistance and Revolution. Okay, this book has letters, even talks about paintings. I mean, the significance of this is all about law. Okay, this is the history of America. Okay, so we want to get to, and this is in a chronological order of how things happen and things that were written down in law. So when I talk about history of law, this is it. And like I said, I have 21 volumes missing the first volume. I'm going to find the first volume because that'll even go further back than 1755. But these volumes go from 1755 to 1986. That's a lot of information. I mean, here's the Stamp Act. Okay, there's all sorts of cool stuff in this book. Just flat out blows my mind the information that's in these books. And I have a hard time sleeping at night sometimes. Okay, this is 1774. I have that bookmarked because that's John Jay. Virginia Declaration of Rights. Okay, page 432. Virginia's Declaration of Rights was in many ways a central document of its era, drawn upon by Jefferson for the opening paragraphs of the Declaration of Independence. Imagine that. It was widely copied by the other colonies. Okay, these Virginia Declaration of Rights, because Virginia, Jamestown, was the first place that we came to. The English people came from England for religious separation, came here to North America, which was actually found back in Christopher Columbus, 1492. Okay, widely copied by other colonies because the basis of the Bill of Rights in the Constitution and had considerable influence in France at the time of the French Revolution. It was written by George Mason and adopted by the Virginia Constitutional Convention. Okay, they had a constitutional convention and they ratified this. Okay, and I have American jurisprudence that specifically says Bills of Rights. Okay, this is one of those Bills of Rights under judicial notice. Okay, you can put a court on notice for judicial notice for this right here. Okay, now listen to this very carefully. Okay, adopted by the Virginia Constitutional Convention on June 12, 1776, as the theoretical foundation for all government. Okay, this is the foundation for government, all government, here in this country. Okay, a declaration or rights made by the representatives of the good people of Virginia, assembled in full and free convention, which rights do pertain to them and their posterity as the basis and foundation of government. Section 1, that all men are by nature equally free and independent and have certain inherent rights, of which when they enter into a state of society, now there's a key word, state of society, the state of Idaho. We are in a state of society. That they cannot, by any compact, any contract, deprive or divest their posterity, namely the enjoyment of life, liberty, with the means of acquiring and possessing property, and pursuing and obtaining happiness and safety. Okay? Again, these are inherent rights or unalienable rights. We cannot waive these rights by even a contract or compact. Number 2, Section 2. that all power is vested in and consequently derived from the people. That's that. All political power is inherent in the people. That's where it is, right here. That magistrates are their trustees and servants, and at all times amenable to them, to us, to we the people. They're public servants. Okay, it says it right there. Section 2. Section 3. That government is or ought to be instituted for the common benefit, protection, and security of the people, nations, or community, of all the various modes and forms of government, that is best which is capable of producing the greatest degree of happiness and safety, and is most effectually secured against the danger of maladministration. I mean, just think about the things that they were going through in 1776. Why were we declaring our independence? We read the Declaration of Independence. It says from the King of England. It's a religious separation. We were tired of the tyranny from the king. Okay? And that when any government shall be found inadequate or contrary to these purposes, the majority of the community has an indubitable, inalienable, or inalienable, and indefeasible right to reform, alter, or abolish it in such manner as shall be judged most conducive to the public weal. Okay? That's number 3. Number 4, that no man or set of men is entitled to exclusive or separate emoluments or privileges from the community, but in consideration of public services. Okay? As a public servant, you're supposed to be a just compensation. Okay? And I think we should set that just compensation at minimum wage, because they only work about 3 months out of the year, and they're supposed to, and I'll get to that, return back to the people. Number 5, that the legislative and executive powers of the state should be separate and distinct from the judiciary. And that's the part we need to understand here, is that the judiciary is supposed to be separate, and they're the ones that's supposed to judge the law, right? Whether the state is within the scope and authority of the delegated authority to make that statute, to make that rule, to make that regulation. And that's the 3 things. Statutes are made by the legislative branch. Rules are made by the judicial branch. And what was the other? Regulations are made by the executive branch. And that the members of the 2 first may be restrained from oppression. Okay? By feeling and participating in the burdens of the people, they should at fixed periods be reduced to a private station and return into that body from which they were originally taken, and the vacancies be supplied by frequent, certain, and regular elections in which all or any part of the former members to be again eligible or ineligible as the laws shall direct. So that's why we have limitations on our public servants, elected officials that can serve. Like the president can only serve 2 terms in a row. That's it. Number 6, that elections of members to serve as representatives of the people in assembly ought to be free, and that all men having sufficient evidence of permanent common interest with an attachment to the community. So it's supposed to come from the body of the people, us, we the people. You know, we're a republic, by the public. We are self-governed and have the right of suffrage and cannot be taxed or deprived of their property for public uses without their own consent. Again, by the consent of the people. We don't consent. It don't happen. Or that of their representatives so elected, nor bound by any law to which they have not, in like manner, assembled for the public good. So right there, they're even telling you, even if these representatives get out of hand and pass an act that's in violation of the supreme law of the land, or even if it's in violation of the Constitution. The judicial branch is part of that checks and balance. We're supposed to be able to go to court and under declaratory judgment have the court declare whether or not this statute, rule, or regulation is in a line with the supreme law of the land, or of the law of the land, which happens to be the Constitution. If there's something in the Constitution, again, back to Article 6, Clause 2, if there's anything in the state constitution that is repugnant to the supreme law of the land, it's completely illogical to think that a secondary law can come in conflict with the supreme law and still stand. It can't. It's illogical. Hierarchy. Section 7, that all power of suspending laws or the execution of laws by any authority without consent of the representatives of the people is injurious to the rights and ought not to be exercised. So again, even if they create this stuff, even in a state of an emergency, there is no emergency that is allowed to deprive people of our rights. Can't do that. I don't care what kind of emergency is in it. Not even martial law can deprive people of their God-given fundamental rights. It's just the way it is. That's law. And here it is. That in all capital, this is number 8, section 8, that in all capital or criminal prosecution, a man has a right to demand the cause and nature of his accusation, to be confronted with the accusers and witnesses, to call for evidence in his favor. So we have the right to call for evidence in our favor. Okay? And to a speedy trial by an impartial jury of 12 men of his vicinage, without whose, now listen to this real close, without whose unanimous consent, okay, unanimous consent of all 12 cannot be found guilty. Means all 12 have to consent to finding you guilty. There is nothing there that says anything about a hung jury. If all 12 don't consent, then that's a hung jury. No, it says what it says and it doesn't say what it doesn't say. And I have American jurisprudence on constitutional law that specifically says that. Okay? It says what it says and it doesn't say what it doesn't say. So it says that you have the right to a trial by jury of 12 of your vicinage, okay, and without whose unanimous consent he cannot be found guilty, nor can he be compelled to give evidence against himself, that no man be deprived of his liberty except by the law of the land, not statutory law, the law of the land, or the judgment of his peers. Okay, so you have to go to a trial. And then the jury of our peers is the one that decides whether or not our life, our liberty, or property can be deprived. Okay? Only after. That's part of due process. Due process and law of the land are synonymous. They mean the same thing because the law of the land describes and dictates due process, not statutory law. Number 9, that excessive bail ought not be required, nor excessive fines imposed, nor cruel and unusual punishment inflicted. Section 10, that general warrants whereby an officer or messenger may be commanded to search suspected places without evidence of a fact committed, or to seize any persons or persons not named, or whose offense is not particularly described and supported by evidence, are grievous and oppressive and ought not be granted. Okay? If it isn't supported by an affidavit of truth signed under penalty of perjury, that's oppressive. Okay? You can't make a warrant. You can't seize anyone. You can't seize anybody's property. Period. There it is, right there. That's a right. This is a declaration of rights. This is due process. Okay? Section 11. That in controversies respecting property and in suits between man and man, okay, the ancient trial by jury is preferable to any other and ought to be held sacred. Right there. Remember when I was talking about that before? that this was an ancient right to a trial by jury? There it is, right there. I don't know if you can read that and see it, but there it is. Okay, it's an ancient right, long before the Constitution. This is 1776. Constitution wasn't until 1787. Bill of Rights wasn't until 1789. No, 1791, pardon me. 1791, it was fully ratified, the Bill of Rights. Section 12, that the freedom of the press is one of the great bulwarks of liberty and can never be restrained but by despotic governments. So actually the freedom of the press was our right to freedom of speech and to post stuff in the newspaper. Okay, this judge over here is being corrupt. Okay, and here's the evidence to support that. Now you better have the evidence to support your claims, or that becomes libel. Okay, you're slandering a judge if you start posting that in the newspaper. But here it is, freedom of the press. Okay, freedom of speech. That's where it comes from. Number 13, section 13, that a well-regulated militia composed of the body of the people. Okay, the militia is the body of the people. Trained to arms is the proper, natural, and safe defense of a free state, that standing armies in time of peace should be avoided and dangerous to liberty, and that in all cases the military should be under strict subordination to and governed by the civil power. Okay, here we go. The standing armies in time of peace. What do you think your municipal courts are? Even the Constitution talks about standing armies aren't supposed to be supported for longer than 2 years. Why do we have municipal police? They're not under authority, delegation of authority. That's what the 10th Amendment is. Police powers are limited by the 10th Amendment. You're not allowed to have standing armies. Are we at war or are we in peace? We're in peace times. I mean, even though they've declared war on this, and see, that's the thing you have to understand. They declared war on drugs. We're at war. They declared war on whatever. That's, you know, terrorism, war on terrorism. But we're not really at war because we're supposed to be in defense. And if we're declaring war on terrorism, why are we allowing unvetted, improperly vetted? You can't even vet them. I've watched the Congress, the committee, talk about this, and they testified in there. We have no way of checking and vetting these people, flat out. Department of Homeland Security says we have no way of vetting these people. Their information is not in our computer system. Well, because they're from third world countries, they don't even frickin' have computers. How are you supposed to document these people? I mean, they do have a certain level of documentation going on, but some of them don't even have any documentation at all. And there's no way to check it against anything because there's nothing that exists to check it against. They don't have a vital statistics. Okay? They don't have online computers that they can just go to vital statistics and punch in, yep, this person was created or birthed on this date and time. So here they are. You know, we don't have that. They're not being properly vetted. And this is what Trump's talking about, was trying to stop these people from coming in because we can't vet them. And if we're declaring war on terrorism and these people are coming from the same countries that we're at war with, they're not allowed in this country. I'm sorry, that's the law. Law of immigration. Read it. This is where it starts getting good here, guys. Here you go. Number 14, that the people have a right to uniform government, and therefore that no government separate from or independent of the government of the Virginia ought to be erected or established within the limits thereof. Okay? We're supposed to have one form of government here, and it's called a Republican form of government. Section 15, that no free man, that no free government, or the blessings of liberty can be preserved to any people but by a firm adherence to justice, moderation, temperance, frugality, and virtue. Look that word up. Virtue. What is virtue? Okay. And by frequent reoccurrence to fundamental principles. What are the fundamental principles? Here's some of them right here, and I'm getting ready to tell you what this virtue and fundamental principles are. You ready for this? Here you go. Section 16. That religion, or the duty which we owe to our Creator, and the manner of discharging it, can be directed only by reason and conviction, not by force or violence. And therefore all men are equally entitled to the free exercise of religion according to the dictates of conscience, and that it is the mutual duty, and here's the principle, of all to practice Christian forbearance, love, and charity toward each other. That is the principle laid down, ordained, and established as law. Declaration of Rights, Virginia Declaration of Rights. 1776, again, back to as the theoretical foundation of all government. This is a fundamental principle. Whether you're religious or not, you don't have to be. But we want you to treat one another with Christian forbearance, love, and charity toward each other. Treat others as you want to be treated, with love and charity toward each other. That's pretty simple, fundamental principle concept, okay? The day the Continental Congress declared the United Colonies free and independent states. Anonymous notice quoted in its entirety on the last page of the Pennsylvania Evening Post, July 2nd, 1776. The first Virginia Constitution, that's on the next page. There it is. Virginia Constitution. Succession of law, that's how it is. Right here in black and white. Okay? Now, that's what I wanted to read tonight. Because I've been in a law seminar, and I've held other educational classes, and I asked people, anybody even read the Virginia Declaration of Rights before? Never even heard of it. And there's a certain somebody out there that I want you to understand that there are 4 documents in conjunction with the Declaration of Independence. It's the Declaration of Arms, the Virginia Declaration of Rights, the Declaration of Independence. But let's back up. What happened at the signing of the Declaration of Independence? Virginia's Constitution, which was adopted by all the other colonies, along with the Declaration of Rights. It's a Bill of Rights. And that's just the way it is. That's the history of law. And if you haven't read it, there's no way that you can tell me that I'm wrong because you've never even read it. You've never even heard of it. So you can't even make an argument against it. So nobody want to call in?
Nope, no calls yet. Yeah, people.
No calls. Huh? Numbers on there. You guys want to call in? 408-638-0968. And there's a meeting ID number. You'll have to punch that ID number in. And once you punch that ID number in, it'll pop into Ted over there and give us a little ding ding over here. And that'll bring you on.
Yeah, no, I'm looking. I'm
Dad,
scrolling.
you said, can I list them? List what?
List the 4, maybe? I don't know. People generally like to argue no matter what they get. I mean,
yeah.
We're always, since we didn't go to law school, and even if you did, you didn't learn a lot of this stuff. But as we're evolving in our knowledge in this, sometimes people get stuck on one idea and have a tendency to argue, and then on top of that, some personalities don't mesh very well, and you mix that all up with not hearing somebody's tone of voice on Facebook, and boom, you're in a Facebook argument. It happens.
Yeah, I know. I've been arguing with somebody on that one video.
Oh.
I'm not gonna. I don't know. Maybe I should. He's putting himself out there to be running for president of the United States. I hate to inform you, when you put yourself out there to run as a public servant and the president of the United States, I have every right to scrutinize you.
That's a good point.
And I'm gonna scrutinize the heck out of you, because you're wanting to be my president. You better know what you're talking about, dude. And you don't.
We do need to be
I
careful.
proved it. And I'm proving it again right here, right now.
Who we support, you know, as a movement. We don't want to look too ridiculous to the public.
All I want is the history of law to come forward and prove what the history of law is, and this is called succession of law, rights as law, not necessarily the stuff that was in there about how government's supposed to be, but rights, because rights are law. Bills of rights, specifically, are law. And as I just read to you, the Virginia Declaration of Rights is a theoretical form of all government established, and in the Virginia Convention, Constitutional Convention, 1776. I'm looking for the Declaration of Arms, because it's here. 1770.
People are curious. There's 11 people watching, it says, live on Facebook, which that's about the same as when you left off from Blog Talk. There was I think there was a high of 25, and I haven't looked at how many views, but there's I'm kind of guessing we're around 700-800 views. But I could go back and look.
Here's one that I wasn't even aware of. The independence of the Massachusetts legislature, 1774. They started it in 1773, February 5th, 1774. Samuel Adams, John Hancock, and others submitted the following report. Okay? There's a lot of history here in our law that a lot of people aren't aware of, including myself. But that's why I bought these books. Man, did I score these books. Holy smoke. I went on the internet there, Amazon, a good set of used books that seemed like they're in fairly good condition. These are in excellent condition. All these books are excellent. They're like brand new. Okay. The used ones were $349. Some of the nicer ones were $500 for the set, and I picked them up for $10. But there's a lot of stuff out here, guys, that's, you know, and I've tried to lay it out. Magna Carta 1215 was the original separation, and we have 572 years of law that predates the Constitution. And when I'm talking about law, I'm talking about rights. And there's provisions in the Magna Carta that are in full force and effect today. And in fact, I've posted that.
You have a caller. Can you hear that ding when it dings?
I didn't hear it this time.
No. Well, here's somebody. Hello, caller. You are on Law for Dummies with Kirk Pendergrass.
Chad, the books that I have, this is called Annals of America. Okay? It's a 21-volume set. Annals of America.
Let's make sure.
8946. Who are we talking with?
Let's see. Can get.
You there?
Oh yeah, there we
Kurt?
go.
Yes, we're here.
Hey, it's Tracy. Okay, so you know a little bit about my criminal case from last year. I just found out that I am going to a jury trial, nullified.
Okay.
I've now had a second public defender assigned to my case because I've refused to plea. A plea was entered on my behalf without my presence or signing an appearance, on my behalf, and my constitutional rights were waived. That was back in March. So I've been fighting it. They assigned a different public defender. I stated, lack of jurisdiction due to failure to state a cause of action for which release can be granted, and I've basically pissed them off.
Of course. Because I know you're right.
So now I'm going to voir dire, and then we're selecting a jury, and that's where I'm at.
Well, have you filed anything?
On my own, no, because I've been represented. I'm releasing, or I'm filing a Marsden motion to have my public defender withdraw, or force withdrawal, so that I can file my suppression motion and my motion to dismiss. But I wanted to go this far with him just because it was fun to do, I guess.
Yeah, but it can bite you in the butt.
Well, I mean, the other thing is obviously, ineffective assistance of counsel due to surprise and inadvertent surprise by switching out right before our trial readiness conference and then not continuing per my request to seek private counsel. I was denied.
Yeah, well, see, that's the thing is like, how do you go before the state under criminal charges and then have someone from the state represent you? That's a conflict of interest right off the bat.
Right, and honestly, it was just...
go to the bar and have a bar attorney come in, and all attorneys do is they come in and admit the jurisdiction and say, I taught you this already, okay? Right. Attorneys come in and admit the jurisdiction and take leave, and what that means is, hi, yep, we're here to admit the jurisdiction, so that way there can't be any challenges to jurisdiction, because laches occurs the second that that attorney shows up and says, I admit the jurisdiction, and now I take leave so that anything that happens from here on out happens to this guy over here and not me. Because they represent you.
The power of attorney that was handed over to the first attorney, that doesn't become automatically transferred to the second attorney, does it?
You waived your rights. The second
I didn't waive them.
See, this is the thing people don't understand. When you hire an attorney or have an attorney appointed in your behalf for your behalf or act on your behalf, what you're actually saying is that you're a feeble mind. You're an idiot. And that's an actual term that they use. Feeble mind. Okay? In other words, you're not capable of handling your own personal private affairs. And you need someone else to take care of you. And that's why they represent you. They represent you. Okay, like I said, the second you hire an attorney, that's what an attorney is, to attorn you. They're to take your shit and give it to somebody else. Plain and simple. That's what their job is. That's what you just hired them to do. And you're telling the court by hiring them, or telling the court that I need somebody to represent me because I'm such feeble-minded, they just walk all over you.
Except that I didn't. I actually motioned to represent myself under the Sixth Amendment.
See, that's not how you do that.
Oh, okay.
In the beginning of the case, you can't file anything except for a continuance. Okay?
Right.
Now, you look in your rules of procedure, and you're going to find where it says general appearance or special appearance. Those are your two choices. You have to file a notice of appearance, and that is your affidavit of status. This is what my status is. I am appearing before the court by special appearance, and I am a creation of God. I am a natural man. I am sui juris. I am of lawful age, and I'm very capable and competent in myself to handle my own personal matters, private matters. And now, when I do that, I come in either propria persona or personam as proper person, and I'm bringing the jurisdiction under Article 3, Section 2. Okay, suits at law, suits of equity, not under contract law, not under probate law, not under equity law, and not under admiralty law or administrative law. Okay? Right. I bring the jurisdiction. I'm stating who I am. This is how I stand before the court. And in order to have any jurisdiction over me, you're going to have to prove that you do. And I want a verified claim, not a complaint, not a piece of information laid before the court. I want a verified claim. I want to know the name of the man or woman who is claiming a right to a cause of action against me.
Right, and you
fall under this jurisdiction, because if it falls outside of this jurisdiction, this court lacks jurisdiction, personal jurisdiction.
Right, and you and Darren had me do that, sort of. Like, I think I half-assed it from your guys' advice that morning. I did the oral, the verbal standing special appearance, but then it wasn't done in writing. And then they literally forced me to fill out the paperwork, but I refused to sign anything, and I refused to sign a notice of special appearance for my counsel, and a 977, PC 977. I refused to sign that for him to act on my behalf.
Did you ask the court to appoint you an attorney?
No, I did not. I asked to represent myself.
Well, so when I'm in that situation, I say, no, I don't consent. And the judge just looks at me. It's like the parenting coordinator thing. They've been trying to force me to go do the parenting coordinator thing again. And I said, no, that was a one-time deal. And she sends me the new contract. And I said, no, I don't consent. And she says, well, he's not working. Her attorney's like, he's not working with the parenting coordinator. You need to tell him he's got to work with the parenting coordinator. Da, 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 da. And the judge looks at me and I said, no, I don't consent. I said, that's fraud on the court. I said, how do you have an action for divorce when there isn't a marriage contract? I don't consent to this. Because, again, we're about consent. If you don't consent, they don't have jack shit.
Well, and I definitely found out that if you don't appear, if you stand your ground and don't appear, they issue a bench warrant. So I have everything I've challenged, I'm kind of just, here I am. Now I'm facing final trial readiness, and then jury selection begins on 12/18, which I'm not opposed to. I'm not going to plead to something that I'm not guilty for. If I have to go with that far, I will.
Okay, so when's your pre-trial?
November 30th.
Well, any pre-trial motion's got to be filed 21 days before pre-trial.
And that was the other thing, too. My old public defender had requested, through the proper channels, the discovery, lab reports, supplemental reports from other deputies on the scene, the witness statement that is left out of the police report, the smoking gun, all of that. And they literally said they had no hard evidence. They never tested it through a lab. There's nothing there. There really isn't.
Right. Right. So,
but they also refused.
In your case, you need to do the suppression. You need to motion to suppress the evidence because, one, it's false evidence. It's been illegally obtained. Okay? Fruits of a poisonous tree. Okay? Where was your warrant? Okay? That was a deprivation of liberty by you, that officer coming up to your rig and even talking to you. You had no proper delegation of authority to even come talk to you. Period.
Yeah, no, I was actually reading the report last night with a friend. We were going over it, and as I'm reading through it, it's actually comical because he literally states that he snuck up on me. I never saw or heard him approach, and before announcing his presence, he stands right behind my door and sees what he sees. Then he announces his presence. There's so many holes in his. He says that he's driving through the parking lot, sees a female in a car, and decides to get out and speak with her. I'm sorry, dude, but I don't know you, and you're going to come up and speak with me about what? You want to date? You want to take me and rape me? Like, you can't just, you are another citizen, another class. You're not allowed to approach me unless you have reasonable cause.
Not even reasonable. He has to have proper delegation of authority. He better have a frickin' warrant in his hand. Unless it is in the midst of committing a felony or a breach of the peace, which has to have to do with violence. Okay?
Yep. They're coming at me carry stuff.
Time that they can make an arrest without a warrant. And an arrest is, hey, you, stop. That right there is an arrest. They will tell you detain. Well, detain and arrest are synonymous. They mean exactly the same thing. Okay? But that's the word game they play with us people out here. Oh, well, we're just detaining you. We're just detaining you. Yeah? What articulable and reasonable suspicion do you have that I've committed a crime that's an arrestable offense? Because as it stands right now, you're depriving me of my liberty. Am I free to go or not?
Right. And I wasn't. The moment he pulled up behind me and boxed me in, we already talked about this, I was already detained. But the fact that, I mean, literally, there wasn't a commission of a crime. I wasn't in distress. And there was no reason to approach me. But they're using Terry stops against using the Terry stop case law against me to not suppress.
Yeah, well, you can suppress that right there because you still have to have a proper delegation of authority to make the Terry stop. Because the Fourth Amendment says you have the right to be secure in all of your personal papers, effects, blah, 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 property, blah, blah, blah. Your automobile is your property. The streets and highways are public property. They belong to the people, not the government. Okay?
And I was on my private property parking lot, like in my private property.
Right.
So,
and you have the right to be secure in there. Now, if you're walking down the street, that's a little bit different story. Okay? The Terry search is supposed to be a stop and frisk for firearms.
For weapons.
Okay?
Yeah, weapons.
And that's supposed to be like a 3-second pat down. That's it. But in order to do the Terry search, they have to have articulable and reasonable suspicion that you have committed a crime that is an arrestable offense. To deprive you of your liberty without cause, probable cause, a right to a cause of action, proper delegation of authority, is a deprivation of liberty, and it's a $10,000 suit right there, just in that. And then if he wants to put his hands on you, now we're talking aggravated assault. Oh, he's got a weapon on him. Now it's aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. I can go on. We can start chalking up all sorts of crimes.
Well, that's kind of what I wanted to ask you.
People need to know this stuff, so you know this stuff, so that you know what your rights are, and you know how to combat this stuff. And, you know, I don't advocate dealing with these people on the street, okay? They claim to be law enforcement officers, and they don't know anything about the law, okay? But they're people, and they deserve, again, back to the Virginia Declaration of Rights, okay? They deserve to be treated with Christian forbearance, love, okay? You're an imbecile, idiot. You're claiming to be from the executive branch, and you're claiming that you're a law enforcement officer, and you don't know jack shit about the law, and you can't claim ignorance of law, and you have no immunity, but, you know, you're still a human being, and so am I, and I'm supposed to treat you with, you know, love and kindness here. So, you know, that only goes so far. You know, turn the other cheek. You hit me once, I'm going to turn the other cheek, but you hit me again, when we're going to have a problem. I'm going to give you one chance. And you better stop doing what you're doing, or we're going to have a problem.
Right.
And because I'm a good Christian man, I'm going to wait until we go to court, and I'm going to let you violate my rights, and I'm going to sue you for everything you got, right down to your underwear you're wearing right now. They're going to be mine.
You can keep those.
Just to show you.
So when you were talking about earlier about filing the complaint, when it comes to county claims, because that's what I'm going to be doing, is filing a county claim along with an injunction. I mean, how do you evaluate that? Do you have a formula?
Sorry, what? I'm reading.
How do you evaluate claims against the county? Do you have a certain formula? Is there a website?
Oh, evaluate?
Like put a value, weight, like a value to your claim.
Well, that's going to be under tort claims in your state civil rules of procedure. It should be in there, or it might even be under statutory law. Actually, yeah, it's going to be under the statutory section.
Okay, so there should be a fixed amount basically for each claim. So self-imprisonment.
There'll be a maximum. There'll be a maximum. Okay. But see, this is why I want everybody to go federal. Because now, when you're talking about an executive branch, an executive agency acting under their policy outside of the law, okay, unconstitutional law, you're talking an agency. That's $500,000 per instance. $500,000 for an agency to act unconstitutionally.
Okay. I get that. So you're saying I should take a misdemeanor federal? Or the rights violation federal?
It's a civil rights violation. It's all federal.
Okay.
Title 42, 1983.
All right, I'll check out the website and see what's there.
Oh, the DOJ website? Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. That website is freaking awesome, dude. And it lays it all out there. It gives you which code it is for each violation, and you can go look it up to see if their crimes fall under that code, and then you make your claims under that code.
But with the cause of action, doesn't it still literally go back to being able to prove, the elements of the cause of action, the necessary elements? And so without being found guilty or having even a verdict, am I able to prove the rights violation without having that evidence introduced at trial?
Well, it depends on what you're trying to do. If you're claiming he violated your right to liberty, that's pretty easy. You grab the frickin' police report. Where's his affidavit of truth declaring his right to a cause of action? Where is his proper delegation of authority? Okay, that's where you do a lawful notification letter straight to that officer. You get after being all arrested and harassed or whatever, and you get home, you get that guy's name, and you send him a lawful notification letter. You're speaking to one of the people. Under what authority did you act this way? Did you not do this? Did you not do this? Did you not have a warrant? Did you not have articulable reasonable suspicion that I'd committed a crime that was an arrestable offense? Did you not this? Did you not that? Okay? Now, you take that lawful notification letter and you tell him, you've got 21 days to respond, dude, because we're going to federal court. And
okay, if he's not with the department anymore,
this becomes
on the
record. So you create your own documents. You create your own evidence. And you send that certified mail, return receipt, so you get your return card that he received it, or she received it, whichever they are. I don't care what public servant they are. They're appointed in position of public trust. You're a public servant. Do you have your oath of office on file? Do you have your surety bond on file? When was it? Well, those types of things will be in your interrogatories, when you go for discovery in your civil lawsuit. But your lawful notification letter is your first thing to the officer.
Right, but if he's not with the department anymore, Kirk, do I send it to his home?
Yep.
Okay.
You're going after the natural man. He's the one that acted outside of his ministerial duties.
Right. You're
going
right.
after him.
Yeah.
His individual capacity as a man, not official capacity.
I don't even know how he's supposed to testify, but it's a whole nother. His whole pitches came back horribly too. I don't know why they're doing this, but it is what it is. So I will do that. Thank you for your advice.
You're welcome. This is not legal advice. This is just we're out here to entertain the people.
Right. Just two friends talking about law. Thanks.
Right.
Bye.
Bye. All right, Mr. Ted.
Hey, how's it going? So
let's see where we're.
Nobody else has called in yet. Thank you, Tracy.
We still got 12 people watching right now. 13.
Yep. No, people like your advice, bro. It's good stuff. It really is. But you gotta pace yourself and save some for the other weeks. And just keep in mind, we are at almost 3.5 hours, and Facebook has a 4-hour max. YouTube has.
Oh, I thought it was a 2-hour.
No, Facebook will let you go until 4 hours. I found that out, broadcasting different events. it will just stop it exactly at 4 hours. So I started this I started this at.
I have no idea what time. 9:23 my time.
Right. So it's getting there.
Yeah, but you know how I am.
I understand. It's good. It feels good at first when you're on video and audio. Blog Talk is cool, and you've been doing that for quite a few months, a year or so. But it certainly brings a whole other element when you're doing video. And then, of course, Facebook Live, you have the comments, and now YouTube, there's comments, and of course, Twitter, there's comments. But I need to watch Twitter more. I really don't enough. Every once in a while, there's some comments on there, and I get to them eventually, but not fast enough. So yeah,
well,
man.
send them over to the Law for Dummies page so they can ask the questions there, so I can even see them, because I don't even have Twitter.
Yeah, there's
what's Twitter.
What's Twitter? I just got one. I haven't even had a Twitter account for a year yet.
I have a hard time keeping up with Facebook as it is now. I mean, since we've been doing the live videos, dude, friend requests, notifications. I mean, my notifications before were pretty good.
Yeah.
But now it's like I've got to be on them, or I'll end up with 40 or 50 of them just like that.
Yeah, I know. And it's hard to find a balance with that, I guess. Go through, and some of the groups, there's so many groups, you know, and some of them you have to unfollow and just check periodically, because those notifications build up, and there's things you can do to kind of thin the notifications down, so you're seeing your friends' notifications and the things that you need to keep up on. It's, you know, like some of the things that I make sure I see first are like Chris's group, Amber and Steven. And so, like, when you posted on there earlier today, I noticed that was a notification I saw.
Nice.
Sometimes
I have certain groups that I've got up on my list.
Yeah. And sometimes there's those days where you just can't get to everything. Some days I can't get through all the messages, you know, and and it's a fine balance. There's a lot of weeks where people block or unfriend me because they get mad that I haven't gotten back to them, and I'm just either, you know, thinking about your show, Jay and Bud's show, my show, and then Wheel of Judiciary takes between Wednesday and whenever I get Wheel out is 8 to 10 hours. And there's just not enough freaking time, and I try to.
Yeah, you're working your butt off behind the scenes. You know, a lot of people don't get to see what all it takes to do this.
Yeah.
And you know, what, three weeks ago today, you helped do all this, setting all this stuff up, and here is, you know, our third time doing it. We were still kind of having some issues, so
it takes some time.
You know, we spend almost like the first hour before the show even starts getting this stuff all set up, and you know, and that's just turning it on. That's not even making the program work.
No, like today, what did I do today? I worked on some audio clips from everybody's from both shows, and then had to talk to somebody about my show on Wednesday. I don't really have a plan, it's fine. I kind of like doing it kind of, you know, by the cuff. I used to have a video ad out every Sunday for the Wednesday show, knowing exactly what I was going to do. But it's kind of different now, because originally, you know, there was a specific purpose for the show called the Million Parrot March Live, and that specific purpose obviously went kind of south before the event, but now there's no really specific direction, so I'm kind of like, I want to do some more with the medical kidnap stuff. I'm doing a lot of research with the AFCC, and I want to talk to Michael Volpe and have him on the show, because I know he knows a lot about it, and that kind of like sub-circle within the movement that really focuses on that kind of stuff.
Yes.
You know,
sounds like an awesome guy to have on.
Yeah, I've never. We've tried to connect and talk personally, but it's just never happened. I don't. It's one of those things where you just. And plus, I don't know enough about it. I mean, once you start getting into the AFCC, it brings you past that subcircle all the way to like the protective mothers, and then past that to the women's coalition, where they use some of the stuff that the AFCC does back against other parts of them. It's wacky, and I want to try. If I'm going to do this, I want to cover every single angle, and kind of look into every theory, every biased comment, everything, so I have a complete, full understanding going back to, so when it started in the 90s, before 1997, Newt Gingrich had some kind of influence with the churches, so more Republican-leaning people, saying that, mothers on welfare were bad, and we needed to put an end to this. It's just wacky, some of the stuff that I've heard, and all I've heard is it's none of the. I haven't done my own research at all, so all of this stuff I need to look into as to how the AFCC got founded. But now they are the people who apparently train psychologists, therapists, certain attorneys, guardian ad litems, even judges, and so it's a nonprofit. So somehow the taxpayers are paying for this, and what's happening is they're trying to create more and more services. They invented guardian ad litems. So so even though parental alienation exists, this group of the AFCC doesn't necessarily want to make it something that is mandatory, like something that you need to be certified as a psychologist or therapist to practice or to understand it. They just want to push more psychologists into the courtrooms, and that's why you have this subcircle of people kind of against.
Because what's going on is they're taking on titles of nobility.
Right.
Well, we're gonna listen to this guy over here because, well, you know what? I have my PhD.
Exactly.
Public high school diploma.
And like I said, even if I just had a show with Michael on and let him talk about it, I think that might be good. But I'd want to spend more time and really get deep into all those aspects, like I mentioned. So I guess that's kind of where I'm focusing on right now. I'm hoping that Terry LaPointe can join me on the Marches Live this Wednesday and kind of introduce her if people don't know her and what she does with her website, Medical Kidnap. And she has a family that she's helping right now, which is featured on the website. And I don't, if I remembered the name, I'm not sure I could pronounce it anyways. It's a Slavic name, starts with an N, there's a couple of Z's in there. And so hopefully they can come on, at least audio, and talk about what they're going through. That's my plan so far. But anyways, great show tonight, man.
Hey, John Patton, go ahead and give us a call. You say you got a question there?
Yep, we've got about 24 minutes before Facebook shuts us down, so let's
bring it.
So yeah,
you doing all right over there, Ted?
I was, just sitting here a while. It's okay. I do a lot of sitting here.
How's your wrist?
Oh,
how's your hand?
Well, here I can make sure I'm presentable. It's all right. It's I can show you the stitches.
Yeah. Hey, you got your bandage off, and you're doing good.
So yeah,
that's still pretty ugly looking, but
Yeah, it's weird. It goes in, right, and then under the skin, up, and then on the same side of the cut, back in, under, up, and around like that. So it goes through the skin 30-something times. And I'm getting them taken out on Wednesday. I'm not really looking forward to it, but it's all healed on the outside, not the inside yet. It feels so the tendon was here and here, and there's
you're looking at 6 to 8 weeks there for that to heal.
Yeah, and I can feel it like right in here really bad. When I move my fingers, I can move my fingers now, but I can feel the tendons like moving against the cut. And it feels really weird.
Yeah. Yep. Take it easy on it. Let it heal.
Yeah, man. So, that guy isn't calling in, I guess. Well, I guess we could do a countdown. You know who I'd like to talk to more? I wish Paul Raymond would call in. He has a local radio show down in San Antonio. I went on his show, and I haven't heard him call into any of these shows.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to hear some more of his thoughts. I think... oh, there you go. There's your guy. Let's see. 3655, welcome to Law for Dummies with Kirk Pendergrass. You are live.
Hey, how you guys doing tonight?
All right. Who we talking to?
This is John.
All right, John.
So I'm going through
a few minutes.
Oh. Sorry. Go ahead.
I'm waiting for you for your question.
Oh, okay. So I'm going through a family law case, and I've been getting railroaded here by these attorneys and judges. I recently had trying to exercise my rights. I have to have a psych eval done along with supervised parenting time. And I'm trying to vacate those orders, and I've been told all this different stuff to do. So I'm kind of like lost. I am trying to challenge the jurisdiction, so I've had some people trying to help me understand the whole jurisdiction thing.
Okay.
I guess
so let me just break in here because this is a common question. What do I do? What do I do? What do I do? So it doesn't matter what case you're in, criminal, civil, family, whatever have you. Okay. People need to understand fraud. Okay. Fraud is a moral wrong. Okay, you bring in fraud on the man or fraud upon the court. And in your situation, you're being told you have to do this, you have to do that, okay? Unless you have evidence to back up what your claim is, the reason why I need this, that's fraud, okay? You have used force, your arbitrary power against me in a fraudulent matter, which is outside of your specific delegated authority and moral duties and ethical obligations under the law to perform here, Your Honor. So we're going to make a motion pursuant to fraud is the grounds, okay? And there's no statute of limitations on fraud. You look at Rule 60D as in Delta, not Bravo, as an independent action, okay? If it's been within a year, you can take care of it in your family law. You can go in there and you can make your motion, okay? Notice of hearing, and then file your motion to vacate all orders for fraud, whichever order it is, and list your order that you want. And then from there, your brief and support memorandum of law with your points of authority. You know, so you're going to be quoting rules of evidence. They didn't comply with the rules of evidence. Where's the evidence to support the claims that you needed to have a psychological evaluation? In order for this court to grant this order, see, that's the thing. Another thing people need to understand is it's not the court that's ordering it. It's the other side that's ordering that. The judge is just signing the order. So, see, that's part of your paperwork. You have to actually draw up your own order, and then that's the only thing that doesn't get signed, because that's got to be signed by the judge. You submit your order to the judge, and the judge signs it. And unless somebody on the other side, unless you object to that order, well, there's no evidence to support that claim, Your Honor. That shifts the burden back onto the moving party. And your attorneys won't ever do that because they want money. They want your money, and they want to shift your rights to somebody else, because that's what their job is, to attorney you. And then what happens is you'll go and do all these things that you're court ordered now to do, and you'll come back and you'll fight some more. So now that's going to cost you more money. So this is why I tell people, you know what? Don't hire an attorney, okay? You're better off hiring my brain's fried. Paperwork guy. Can't even think right now. Paralegal. Okay, paralegals are about at least half of what an attorney costs, and they don't speak nothing. All they do is do your paperwork. Okay, so you hire a paralegal and say, okay, I need a motion to vacate orders for fraud. I'm in this state. Well, obviously, try to find somebody local so you can actually go in and sit down and talk with them and go over the paperwork. So you hire a paralegal to draft your paperwork. Then you file your paperwork. You go in and you make your oral arguments. Okay? That's how you're going to win. First, paperwork. Second, making your oral arguments. And oral arguments need to be without emotion. Okay? Well, so-and-so did this, and so, no. Stick to facts, truth, facts, and evidence at all times. Make your statements. Get your statements on the record, and back up your what's in the record. Okay? In the record is your documents that you file. So your notice of appearance, your motion, your brief, and your order. Okay? Those are the 4 main documents you got to have for every motion. And then you even have to have your affidavit. Okay? Basically under what you're saying. But that's part of the motion. You're making your motion to vacate. Well, here's my affidavit of truth. On this date, this order was entered unlawfully, fraudulently, because there was no right to a cause of action to order this to me. That's fraud. Fraud upon the court. They brought a fraudulent order for you to sign, Judge. How do you feel about that? Remember, try to remember that the judge can possibly be on your side. They're not always your enemy.
So, bringing up the fact that
the judge is the bad guy, you're going to lose real quick.
Okay. So, bringing up the fact that most of the judicial officers violated their oath is not a good idea.
No. That's like walking up to the lion and smacking it in the face and then say, I'm going to be the lion tamer here. And it's not going to go over so well. Biting the hand that feeds you. Got to remember, these are all just human beings, you know. If you can talk some rational sense into your judge, you know, the judge is going to start crooking their head. And, you know, several different judges now, they start crooking their heads at me and like, huh? Yeah, that's common sense, ain't it? Start slapping them in the face with common sense without being derogatory towards them, and just, you know, you put it out there. It's like, hey, judge, what evidence do they have to support the claim that I need this psychological evaluation? Where is it? That evidence wasn't provided. Because my attorney didn't object to it is irrelevant. Fire your attorney, hire yourself a paralegal, save half your money, and make your own arguments and start winning.
Well, and that's the thing. I told the attorney. I'm sorry?
I said, find your rules of procedure for fraud. I think we just ran out on Facebook, so we're just on here now. So, rule of procedure, you have to find what procedure that falls under. It's called motion practice. So, like for me and the family laws and rules of procedure here in Idaho, it's pursuant to Rule 809. So that's called motion practice. That's putting the court on notice. You have jurisdiction to hear this subject matter pursuant to this rule. I'm presenting this motion for you to take jurisdiction to hear this under Rule 809. And what we're talking, the subject matter we're talking about is fraud. So in any motion you want to make, you have to find the rule that you want to come under, and that has to be in your motion. Comes now before the court, blah, 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 pursuant to Rule 809 of the Family Law Rules of Procedure. Motion to vacate all orders for fraud. And that's pretty much all your motion needs to say. You got to state your rule. You got to state your grounds. Your notice of hearing. Some states do notice of hearing and motion all in one page. And then other states, like me, notice of hearing is separate. So you got a one-page document that says, I demand to be heard, my right to due process. And then here's my motion, and this is pursuant to this rule, and here's the grounds. So that gives the court jurisdiction to hear under this rule, and the subject matter, the cause and nature of the action before the court. And you have to give the court jurisdiction. You have to establish that the court has jurisdiction to hear this. So that's what the quote of the rule is. Sometimes you can quote the statute, but when you're talking about motions, you're talking about procedure, rules of procedure. So, and then there you do your affidavit, your brief, memorandum, and points of memorandum of law. Okay, so the law part you'll be talking about is your rules of evidence. Pursuant to this rule of evidence, there was no evidence submitted. In order to tell me I have to go have a psychological evaluation, she has to provide a certain amount of evidence for this court to grant that order. So that's how that works. Now, if you're dealing with it on the spot, I motion for dismissal with prejudice for lack of jurisdiction for failure to state a cause of action for which relief can be granted, because you can't grant an order for her to give me a psychological evaluation based on no grounds. That's how you deal with that right there on the spot when that happens.
I wish I would have known all this when it happened, of course.
Yep, and that's what they prey on. They prey on ignorance. And I don't mean that in a derogatory way. That's just what they do, you know. They try to make things so freaking difficult that you'll want to hire an attorney. But I'll tell you right now, you're the one that knows the facts of your case better than anyone else on the planet. Hire a paralegal to do your paperwork so your paperwork's proper before the court, and make your oral arguments. Rock their socks, dude. It can be done. I've done it.
When I've tried finding a paralegal, but I keep getting told that they can't do private work.
You have to find independent paralegals.
And it's not like they advertise their services that I found so far. I mean, maybe I'm not looking in the right spot, but
there should be. You should have private paralegals out there. I mean,
if you happen to know any on,
even for me, I mean, I can go do an understudy under an attorney for 2 years and become a paralegal, independent paralegal, which is where I'm headed. These guys are in deep caca once I learn how to write all these paperwork properly. I mean, I've written my own paperwork. I've done some paperwork, but I want it perfect every time. Especially when I'm talking Title 42 stuff. It has to be perfect. Don't have fans or butts.
Yeah, and I've been finding that if it's not perfect, that gives them enough wiggle room to get out of it.
Yep. And there's an argument out there for that, or several different arguments. But my argument is, look, I'm not an attorney. I'm not a member of your club. I'm not an officer of the court. I'm not a friend of the court. Okay? Although I can't claim ignorance of the law, your rules of procedure are not law. So, therefore, I can't be held to the same standard as a bar attorney. I don't have a license to practice law. So you can't hold me to the same standard as an attorney. And this ain't law. So let's talk law, and we'll skip the procedure stuff as long as you can comprehend what I'm saying. And I have case law on all that. Everything I'm telling you right now is case law. They can't hold us to the same standard as a bar attorney because we didn't go to school. We don't have that forms and documents education. Okay? As long as you make some sort of an attempt and it's in somewhat, lined out right, and the judge can read it and comprehend it, that's exactly what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to give aid to us. They're supposed to be way lenient with us.
Yeah, I think I read some cases on that. I don't remember what they're called off the top of my head, but I had one judge tell me that, it's not what you say in the motion, it's how the heading or whatever, how you title it, I guess. And I'm like, no, that's not what it said. That's not what I read.
Right? Well, again, judicial notice. Here's case law. Judicial notice. I hereby put this court on judicial notice. Here's this case. This is what the Supreme Court of the United States says. Or better yet, really go with your state. Try and dig up court cases from your state. Even though Supreme Court cases, are up there, we're talking SCOTUS, but if you can find state court cases that say, hey, Idaho code is not actually law, which I have that. So statutory law is not law. I haven't found yet not needing a license to practice law and that I can't be held to the same standard from our Supreme Court, but I'm going to find it. I'll find it.
Yeah, I haven't found anything in Kansas for that yet.
Well, I have a list of crap somewhere, and I believe it's in my Kirk's Law Corner private group. Practicing law without a license. Well, no, not practicing law. Not being held to the same standard as a bar attorney.
Yeah. Now, when they made those orders, we had a child needed care case, and it was dismissed that day. But the guardian ad litem, he made those recommendations, but it was relieved from the case since it was dismissed. I haven't received any of those orders yet. And the cases I found say that since they didn't serve me with those papers, and it's been since June 5th, they're outside of the service
You might check on that. This is the sneaky things that they'll do. I believe it's 180 days. They have up to 180 days to serve you with the orders. So you may go to court. The judge signs their order. 6 months later, you get an order in the mail. There you go.
So how does that work? Because if in order to appeal it, like if it's final orders, I need something to go off of, right?
Well, you were at the hearing, weren't you?
Yeah, but they never said like final orders or anything like that. But when I went back for child support, they brought up that case and they're like, "Oh, well, we entered final orders on this," and I'm like, "No, you didn't. I haven't received those orders. Online, it says temp orders." And nobody said anything at court about this being final orders.
Right. So if they're claiming, oh, well, you were served, or there's final orders in this case, okay, well, I'll refer you to the record. Where are they? And the judge will have to look it up. And if the judge looks at the record and there's no final orders there, or, oh, yeah, well, final orders are here, blah, 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 okay. When were they served? Insufficiency of service. That's a grounds for defense. That's an affirmative defense.
Insufficiency of grounds?
Insufficiency of process.
No process?
Yep. That would be, oh, we went ahead and put in a final judgment and order against you, but we never served you with the order. That's insufficiency of process. Insufficiency of service. Well, service part is being served, and the process is following through with that. I can't read that.
It will automatically end on Facebook at 3 of. I started it at 8:57. I mean 7:57 Eastern. So we've got 2 minutes if you want to wrap things up.
All right. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for coming on to a 2-hour show that lasted 4 hours tonight. My brain's starting to get all gelled up. So I do want to thank those callers that did come on tonight. Blog Talk Radio, Future of Our Children, Ted Fogg, The March Us, Law for Dummies, Kirk's Law Corner, YouTube, Twitter. Love you guys. Everything that you guys are doing out there. If you guys are fellow advocates and helping other people, keep going. Tune in tomorrow night with Jay Moss and Bud Vino on the March.us. Blog Talk Radio, Future of Our Children Network. Far from normal. Boy, those boys are far from normal. And I fit right in with them.
It's an uplifting show. But it's very entertaining.
It's a lot more relaxing, fun, joking around. I try to liven ours up a little bit here, but, you know.
Well, yours is good for Monday. It sets the tone. All right, this is serious business we need to focus on this week. And then Tuesday kind of lightens it up, and then I'll bring you right down with some medical kidnap on Wednesday.
You think you're a yo-yo in your own home? Wait until you get a hold of us.
Right.
We get a hold of you.
But great show tonight, Mark.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen,
Kirk,
for watching, supporting. Much love.
Thank you, guys.